Chapter 989, Second Level. The bloodline of Cerberus, even among the evil gods, is a super high-level ancestral bloodline. Even though I heard that Cerberus itself is not very smart, it is really powerful. It is even strong enough to eat gods. Not so strong, long ago being controlled by those ancient gods who loved to play with people's hearts and distort reality, died countless times. The ancient gods always used Cerberus as cannon fodder, sending him to test any strong foes they encountered. If any unit other than Cerberus had been used like this, they would have died beyond the point of death. But after being slaughtered on the battlefield by multiple deities, Cerberus is still alive and kicking, while several attempts to control it by ancient gods have fallen. If Cerberus is killed, it quickly comes back to life from the underworld. This is an exaggerated immortality that even surpasses ancient gods. It is a privilege of the netherworld guard dog. Koran is not very intelligent, so he doesn't mind being used by the ancient gods because he can't die no matter how he is used. Koran, the prince of the black demon dogs, who inherited Cerberus' bloodline, also has this characteristic. No matter what kind of serious injury he receives, even recently being exploded all over by a demon worm from the insect race, he just can't die. He can be called the strongest of the strong. But now, what did he encounter in the crystal sphere? Having Cerberus bloodline, he, who probably doesn't even have the words afraid in his dictionary, is actually rolling and howling on the ground. He is the only one among the trio of evil gods who has won 10 consecutive victories. That is a monster. Koran bit his tongue, causing it to bleed, and his whole body kept twitching, his pupils shrinking. It's even more terrifying than Cerberus, a true monster. Covered in splattering blood and having bitten off his own tongue, Koran finally curls up and completely loses consciousness. The Black Demon Dog Prince, who originally had a great hope of entering the next stage of trial, had his 10 consecutive victories come to an end and lost the ability to fight again. There were more than one person who had similar encounters. In the following time, all the trial participants who encountered Astaroth felt what true despair and fear from the abyss really were. Most of these elites achieved 5 or 6 consecutive victories on the crystal ball battlefields, especially the members of the Noble Alliance. When they all changed their job to the tentacle class, they would instantly become restless and enter a frenzy state just by being stared at by Astaroth. The tentacles, which were originally their greatest fighting power, began to contract and twitch one by one under Astaroth's gaze, eventually even dissolving automatically. Compared to the Black Demon Dog Prince who dared to counterattack Astaroth, these tentacles couldn't fight back at all. They would self-destruct just by being stared at by Astaroth. It was a natural reaction of the ancient god power within their bodies sensing a more terrifying presence. It was the instinctive response of a lower-level demonic creature encountering the Demon King. Astaroth could easily control these lower-class tentacles with just a look. That is the absolute dominance of a Demon King's rank. Shortly afterwards, no one was eligible to appear before Astaroth in the first layer of the crystal orb. After leaving a huge psychological shadow on the participants in this layer with a crushing attitude, the Demon King from the Abyss automatically advanced to the second layer of the crystal orb trial. Here, only the strong ones who have proven their strength, like the great Shia Emperor Shia Jia, and gained recognition from the White Lotus secret treasure, are qualified to step into the battlefield. If the first layer of the crystal orb trial only selects elites who can reach the hero-ranked limit, then starting from the second layer, this is where the seed players with the potential to achieve the legend ranked belong. The Prince of the Black Demon Dog, who had just achieved 10 consecutive victories, should have been a member of this layer. Unfortunately, in the final advancement battle, he encountered the late participant of the crystal orb, Astaroth. This time, the one appearing before Astaroth was the great Shia Emperor who had made a remarkable start in the crystal orb battlefield, the Black Dragon Emperor Shia Jia, who commanded the 12 Black Cavalry. Although Shia Jia lost to Xiao Cao once, he still managed to break through to the second layer with the advantage of the legion formed by the 12 Black Cavalry, and achieved a record of 7 wins and 1 loss, proving himself to be an outstanding elite even among the seed players in the legend ranked. With only 1 loss, he was defeated by a knight order stronger than him, the Starwings Knights led by Hua Yu. Hua Yu, the captain of the Starwings Knights, sought a future that Yun Shi had once glimpsed. That was the Starwings Knights coming together, the future where all members fought side by side, and she was more excited for the growth of the Knight Order she led than her own growth. Her wish became a reality. The small Starwings Knights all advanced to hero ranked and became the ideal embodiment of Who Are You. The Great Shia Black Dragon Emperor's 12 Black Cavalry were defeated head-on by the Starwings Knights, led by Who Are You, who had a total of over 40 members. Just after a recent defeat, Shia Jie took 15 minutes to recover her strength, analyze the reasons for her failure, and then armed herself again, preparing to continue her rampage. There will never be another exception like the Starwings Knights. The reason he lost just now was that he encountered tactics and natural enemies that completely countered him. Who Are You, who possessed all the members of the Starwings Knights, sent Xiao Cao to charge into battle and unleashed the special abilities of all the members of the Starwings Knights. In the Legion battle, the number of the 12 Black Cavalry was completely overwhelmed by the Starwings Knights. The general is going to fight again. Xia Jie just lost to Xiao Cao once, and now he has some mental shadows. Whether it's soldier against soldier or general against general, it's a complete defeat. Xia Jie can't refuse to accept the fact that he lost to the entire Starwings Knights. The Starwings Knights are like his archenemies, he can't find any way to win against them. But it's only limited to the Starwings Knights. Except for not winning against the Starwings Knights, Xia Jie has won all the other 7 battles. Now, he's confident that he will start a new winning streak this time. Look, there's only one person on the other side. And she's a woman. An unfamiliar face. Is she a newcomer to this level of battle? It looks like it's time to torment the newbie. He wants to show them how cruel this level of battle can be. Chapter 990. The sword of the Demon King dying on this battlefield is just a temporary illusion. As long as you have a noble soul and strong will, you can overcome the aftermath of death. Xia Jie firmly believes in having a noble soul. Losing to the Starwings Knights was because they had that non-human creature, Xiao Cao. Having just one of those creatures is enough. This time, he's determined to get back the points he lost. His goal is not just this second level, but a higher area. What gives him this confidence is the great future predicted by the White Lotus secret treasure. The Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry advance. Xia Jie said at this moment, almost completely in sync with the Black Dragon Emperor. However, this war seemed to be somewhat different from what he had imagined. The rare Black Dragon soul hovering behind the Black Dragon Emperor didn't attack on its own, but instead fell stiffly behind him. The entire body of the black flame formed by the dragon soul looked like a flickering candle in a storm, about to fall. Along with this, the Black Dragon Emperor, who was commanding the 12 Black Cavalry, also showed a hesitant attitude for the first time. There shouldn't be any fear in their emotions, even when surrounded by 3 times as many enemies. The 12 Black Cavalry, as pure war machines, began showing clear signs of chaos. That's because whether it's the Black Dragon Emperor or the 12 Black Cavalry, they felt a clear difference in rank from the black-haired figure across from them. It wasn't a gap that could be compensated for with any tactics or strategies, but rather a power that completely disregarded the so-called difference in numbers. The people who can enter the second level of the Crystal Ball Disc trial are mostly considered as seeds with a legendary possibility by the White Lotus secret treasure. Xia Jie, who woke up the Great Shia Dragon Soul, is fine. Whether it's Who Are You or the Starwings Knights, it's fine. Koran, the Prince of the Black Demon Dog, is just one step away from coming here. They are all recognized by the White Lotus secret treasure and have the qualifications to access the world above the hero rank and open the door to it. However, the seeds of the legend ranked and the true legend ranked are not the same thing. The more talented the seeds are, the more they can feel the fear of Astaroth, while those lower-level tentacles cannot truly perceive this terrifying source. Faced with the fear of Astaroth that he felt, Prince Koran of the Black Demon Dog went completely crazy, refusing to believe in this gap and launched a desperate attack. Likewise feeling the fear, the Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry, after getting over the initial shock, still made the choice to fight. Xia Jie couldn't understand the huge difference between him and the future Black Dragon Emperor, because they were not even in the same world. So, when he saw the Black Dragon Emperor absorbing the power of the Great Shia Dragon Soul, leading the 12 Black Cavalry to charge against that black figure, he even thought it was the beginning of a victorious dawn. That was really his illusion. This charge was not launched with the goal of victory, but merely to prove oneself. Facing an opponent that was absolutely unbeatable, the Black Dragon Emperor still chose to go into battle, just like a despotic ruler who walked onto his final battlefield under the setting sun. Brave. Unyielding. Unlike the madness of the Black Demon Dog Prince, this was the Black Dragon Emperor's own will. Even if it meant death, he would die on the battlefield. Astaroth slightly lifted his head and reached out to pull out Abyssal Condemnation. It was not because of the enemy's strength, but only because of that courage, that Demon King had the qualification to draw his sword. With such strength and courage, deserving of being destroyed by Abyssal Condemnation, only a will like this is worthy of Abyssal Condemnation to be drawn. Like a crazy opponent like the Prince of the Black Demon Dog, the monster who couldn't face the power of the Abyss, didn't even have the qualification to become a sacrifice to Abyssal Condemnation. The magic eye on Abyssal Condemnation quietly opened, and the red and black flowing light shone on this sword of the Demon King. The power from the Abyss began to cause the earth to shake violently, countless small stones were blown away by the huge airflow, and the rapidly gathering power of the Abyss formed a massive storm. Destruction, slaughter, the power representing all darkness erupted recklessly around Abyssal Condemnation. The tremendous power distorted the space around the demonic sword, constantly devouring the material of this world. An earthquake, it erupted. The earth emitted a tragic groan, unable to bear the will from the depths of the abyss. On the ground, big cracks appeared one after another, and if you looked down from the sky, it spread out like a spider web. In the sky, chaotic airflows gathered strangely together, with the Abyssal Condemnation at the center, a huge tornado was forming. 12 black cavaliers rushed on this collapsing land, crossing one crack after another with the help of the Legion aura released by the Black Dragon Emperor. Black dragon flames passed from the Black Dragon Emperor to them. At this moment, they were burning. Under the black flames, they transformed into a fearless burning army, bravely charging towards an opponent that seemed unbeatable. On the crumbling ground, they were the only units still able to move. Violent storms began to sweep the world. The power of the Demon King from the Abyss acted like a giant mixing machine, gathering all the space and darkness around Abyssal Condemnation. With Abyssal Condemnation as the center, the earth began to crack, the sky started to change colors, but more power from the Abyss continued to gather, distorting the scenery. The magic eye locked onto the approaching final army, then in an instant released the endless power of the Abyss. I cannot describe what happened in that moment. The marks of a sword from the Abyss swept over everything. Just the wind pressure caused by the sword created a huge tornado that stretched for several kilometers. A destructive black storm overwhelmed everything. The sky, the earth, the air. Everything was crushed. In the face of this storm that destroyed everything, no material was allowed to exist. All the magical elements in the world were disrupted. There was no longer a boundary between the sky and the earth. This land, carved out from the battlefield of the crystal ball, was collapsing. The end of the world is probably the best way to describe this scene. The sky fell, the earth crumbled. In the face of the destructive storm brought on by the Abyssal Condemnation, everything turned into nothingness, everything was destroyed. From the ground, cracks stretched all the way to the end of this world. With a destructive storm, everything was blown into oblivion. As for the Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry, not even fragments could be left behind under this sword mark. Demon King's first sword technique, Dark Mark, Astaroth's god-killing sword technique. Chapter 991, Legendary Area Boom. Xia Jie couldn't distinguish whether this place was reality or the afterlife. Different, unlike all the opponents encountered before. Completely not on the same level, his future incarnation as the Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry are like insignificant ants compared to the sword scars that traverse the sky and earth. Just by being grazed by the wind pressure at the edge of that sword scar, the 12 Black Cavalry were blown into the sky and instantly reduced to dust and bones. As the leader of the Legion, the Black Dragon Emperor barely lasted even a fraction of a second in that black mark, directly swallowed up. Correspondingly, Xia Jie suffered an unprecedented spiritual impact. If it weren't for the protection of the White Lotus secret treasure, His soul would have shattered completely the moment it was affected by that black sword scar. Even so, he could no longer continue the fight. The damage caused by the Dark Mark is more than 100 times that of the Starwings Knights. In terms of the resilience of the soul, he is not even comparable to the Black Demon Dog Prince Karan, who inherited the power of the Cerberus bloodline, let alone the fact that what he saw was the true Demon King sword from the Abyss. Monster! Ah! How could I win against such opponent? Falling to the ground, Xia Jie fainted directly. This also marked that, in the second level, with a record of 7 wins and 1 loss, the great Xia Crown Prince, who had hopes of advancing to higher levels, was completely eliminated. If this wasn't the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, he would have perished the moment he touched that black sword scar. After crushing the Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalries with a single sword strike, the Demon King from the Abyss continued his conquest. In her second fight, she encountered the strongest contender from the camp of prestigious families, the former Crown Prince candidate of the Great Chainsword Domain. Who, what are you? Why, would someone like you appear here? No, 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 you shouldn't be here. Similar to the Black Demon Dog Prince and the Black Dragon Emperor, the yellow-clothed Emperor could also feel the oppressive aura from the Abyss. Compared to him, who relied on the power of the yellow robe to ascend to the throne, the overwhelming power of the Abyss entwined around his opponent brought him to a state of despair. Even the one who lent him the power of the yellow robe in the Abyss must retreat in the face of this person, not to mention him. Not a presence to be trifled with. Even if he had 100 times or 1,000 times more followers wearing the yellow robe, they would still be insignificant in the face of this terrifying being from the Abyss. This is not an opponent that can be overcome through sheer numbers, but a more terrifying entity than the one behind him. When those nameless golden eyes of chaos stared at him, the part of his body that carried the breath from the Abyss automatically submitted. This is an absolute gap in rank from birth, an insurmountable barrier. He, who achieved enlightenment through the power of the Abyss, is as tiny as a bug in front of the true Demon King. He can't even entertain the thought of launching an attack. Astaroth clearly isn't satisfied with this opponent. Unlike the Black Dragon Emperor just now, this seemingly more powerful opponent has long lost their own will in the Abyss. Borrowed power. False confidence. A body filled with worms, like a puppet made of waste. Not qualified to unsheathe Abyssal condemnation. Just like when dealing with Prince Karan, the Black Demon Dog, Astaroth simply extended his finger and flicked it. Ah! Without even going insane like Prince Karan, the yellow-clothed Emperor held his head, screaming in agony as his body instantly decayed and turned into minced meat. His proud power was nothing but a joke in front of a true Demon King, with an absolute gap in rank that left him unable to react. As he gazed into the Abyss, and the Abyss gazed back at him, the hand that would ultimately pull him in, this ending had already been predetermined. Abandoning even his humanity and relying on the power of the Abyss to shape himself, he became even more inferior than Prince Karan, the Black Demon Dog, and was instantaneously annihilated. Meaningless. Astaroth disappeared from the battlefield, continuing to search for the next opponent. Among the aristocratic camp, the yellow-robed Emperor's entire body exploded, turning into piles of exhausted insects, helplessly whimpering, completely losing the qualification to continue. Crushing, still crushing. On that day, all the testers in the Crystal Ball Plateau's second area encountered a nightmare named Astaroth. These geniuses, who possessed the potential of the legend-ranked, developed a tremendous fear towards the figure dressed in pitch-black armor with a black single wing on its back. Most people were never able to escape from this shadow in their entire lives. The only exception was a recently established small knightly order. Only towards the members of this order, Astaroth didn't draw his sword. Instead, he gently extended his fingers, often flicking their foreheads before they had a chance to react, rendering them unconscious. The same power of the Abyss, when eliminating others, would cause over 100 times the fatal damage of a regular defeat, resulting in being completely eliminated. However, when dealing with the Starwings Knights, the power of the Abyss that could have caused fatal injuries simply lightly touched their foreheads, causing them to faint. Most of the Starwings Knights members who were defeated by Astaroth could only see a strand of black hair, and instantly lost consciousness. This is the difference in treatment. After all, They encountered the Golden Demon King, who responded to someone's wish to come here from the deepest abyss. Soon, even the second-level area could no longer accommodate the Demon Kings from the abyss. The final area of the crystal ball disk opened up to Astaroth. This is the battlefield of legends, a world where only those who have achieved almost complete victories in the second level are allowed to set foot, elevating their future to become true legends. If the challenges in the second level are seeds that may reach the level of legend in the future, then the challengers who can enter this level are representatives of the legend ranked, which is 100% predicted by the White Lotus secret treasure. The first opponent that the Demon King from the Abyss encounters here is a very, very familiar figure. The Starwings Knights, gathering everyone together. The flag of the Platinum Rose flies, a great banner that will surely become a legend and be celebrated by countless people. The golden hair flowed like tassels on the battlefield. It was a blossoming platinum rose, blooming among the flowers of the Starwings Knights. Chapter 992, the gap that was the glorious future belonging to the Starwings Knights, as well as the glorious future belonging to the Platinum Rose. Unlike most other Starwings Knights members who worked hard on the second level, Who Are You, as a member of the Starwings Knights, was never alone in battle from the very beginning. Her power came from all the members of the Starwings Knights, and her future wishes were for the brilliance of the entire Starwings Knights, not just for herself. As long as the Starwings Knights exist, she will exist as well. If the future of the Starwings Knights disappears, she will cease to exist as well. By placing everything on the Starwings Knights, Who Are You has become the symbol of the Starwings Knights. Just like Xia Jie's future will inevitably include the 12 Black Cavalry, Who Are You's future is the entire Starwings Knights. With the combined power of the Starwings Knights, she even entered the third level of the Legend Ranked, which is the highest level of the second phase in the entire White Lotus Sword domain, before Xiao Cao, who was the strongest individual fighter among the Starwings Knights at the moment. At this moment, she, leading the Starwings Knights, finally encountered the strongest enemy. The dark armor, the gently floating black wings behind it, and the red and black magic sword brought unprecedented pressure to Who Are You. So strong. This is the power of the future. Who Are You, standing in the center of the Starwings Knights, gazed at the enemy on the battlefield. Although there was only one person, the pressure she brought to Who Are You far surpassed the recent Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry. This is not an opponent that can be defeated by numbers. With the power of the army, she has entered the Legend Ranked, and she doesn't even feel the opponent's limit of power. The Starwings Knights will inevitably become a legend in the future. This is the deduction of the White Lotus secret treasure. And this enemy gives her a sense of oppression that even the Starwings Knights in the future legend cannot match. Sacred Cross of Light. Who Are You raised the sacred cross shield in her hand and unleashed the Divine Legion skill that ultimately defeated the Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry. A platinum shield appeared on everyone in the Starwings Knights, providing a Legion-level barrier defense. Sacred Platinum Sword. The Platinum Cross Sword glowed simultaneously, giving the Starwings Knights the divine attribute that granted them absolute control over all dark powers. This is not Who Are You's current ability, but a divine gift that will only appear after the complete awakening of her Platinum Rose bloodline in the distant future. The light of the cross can evenly disperse all of the opponent's attacks, which the entire Starwings Knights team then bears. As long as the shield is intact, the Starwings Knights will never be harmed. The Platinum Sword allows each member of the Starwings Knights to possess attack abilities similar to a god weapon, particularly effective against creatures with dark attributes. When necessary, it can also unleash a collective power of all the Starwings Knights in the form of a light sword. The Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry, blessed with the great Xia Dragon Soul, were defeated by these two powerful divine abilities. With both offense and defense combined, the Starwings Knights with Who Are You have almost no weaknesses. To break through the Starwings Knights, one must simultaneously overcome the Sacred Light and the Platinum Sword. Who Are You herself is the one who wields the sword and shield of the Starwings Knights. Who Are You has grown, hasn't she? Astaroth looked at the shining figure on the battlefield, the future belonging to that young girl and her Starwings Knights, a radiant and glorious sight. However, it seems that something is still missing. Has the dragon's nest been built yet? So, let's try to feel the power at the highest point of the endless god's domain, just like gently touching her soft cheek, and let the Starwings Knights experience it. The red and black magic sword glided through the air as light as a goose feather, then turned into 5 sharp sword waves tearing through the sky, moving towards the Starwings Knights protected by the platinum radiance. Each sword wave had the power of an overwhelming force, and this wasn't even the formal attack of the Abyssal Condemnation, just the aftermath caused by swinging the Demon King's sword. Everyone, defend. Who are you, experiencing the power of the Demon King level for the first time, took a deep breath and raised her holy cross shield high. The girls of the Starwings Knights raised their swords and assumed a defensive posture. Only one person fearlessly charged towards the 5 sword waves tearing through the heavens and earth. It was Xiao Cao, the exception in the Starwings Knights, who had the privilege to act independently without obeying Hua Yu, the captain of the Starwings Knights. Unlike Hua Yu, who commanded the Legion, even though Xiao Cao was also a member of the Starwings Knights, she didn't entirely belong to Hua Yu's jurisdiction. Their relationship was like friends and rivals in real life. Unrivaled in the world. Just like she had torn through the military might of the Black Dragon Emperor not long ago, Xiao Cao, who had charged to the central sword wave out of the 5, unleashed her strongest skill. Among the chaotic dance of countless swordlights, Xiao Cao forcefully collided with that towering 100-meter sword wave. The unrivaled style with invincible attributes continuously bombarded the overpowering sword wave, directly depleting half of its strength. Boom! Like a matchstick blown away by a storm, Xiao Cao, who accomplished this feat, was blown away, tumbling through the air like a kite with a broken string. A hint of astonishment flashed in Hua Yu's eyes. Xiao Cao was the strongest solo combatant in the entire Starwings Knights, even stronger than the squad leader herself. Despite giving it her all, Xiao Cao couldn't even break through a single sword wave, and this was only one of the 5 sword waves released casually by her opponent's sword swing. Is the difference in strength really this immense? Boom! 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 5 earth-shattering booms echoed throughout the Starwings Knights camp, each sword wave creating a cloud of dust that stretched for several kilometers. The platinum light tried its best to protect the girls, but soon grew dim, flickering like a candle in the wind. With each explosion, members of the Starwings Knights were carried away by the sword winds, just like Xiao Cao. After 5 consecutive explosions, only a few members of the Starwings Knights were left standing. Chapter 993, Radiance of Courage Cough. That was impressive. Ling Ling complained by Hua Yu's side, trying her best to stand in front of her and shield her from the wind and rain. This time, it doesn't look good. Mai Lan wiped the dust off her forehead, some settling on her hair, symbolizing the moment when her platinum shield was shattered. The Starwings Knights gathered together, facing this wave of sword attacks, were like butterflies in a storm. Many people, already hit by the impact of the platinum shield, lost consciousness and fell behind the Starwings Knights' position. The remaining few members of the Starwings Knights stood up with great difficulty. Without the protection of the platinum shield, this wave of sword attacks could annihilate the Starwings Knights. This is an unstoppable map attack, clearly launched by a magic sword, but there is no trace of abyssal power in it. It's just a phenomenon caused by swinging the sword. Captain, our opponents are very dangerous this time. Even a fool like Ling Ling could feel the immense difference in strength. I suggest we retreat. Mai Lan shook her head. This battle was like ants trying to move a tree. There was hardly any possibility of winning from the beginning. In my divination, there is no future in which we can win. Robin shrugged. This prophecy was too simple. She didn't even need the blood of the Robins to know that grim future. Yes, cannot win. This time, Hua Yu, the leader of the Starwings Knights, had to admit that the Starwings Knights had no chance of winning this battle. However, she didn't know why, but when she looked at the black figure, a natural urge to fight surged from her heart. Can you feel it too? Holding her chest, Hua Yu could sense her heartbeat accelerating. How should I put it? I feel really unwilling. Ling Ling gritted her teeth and stood tall. Always afraid of hardships and tiredness, and being sheltered since childhood, like sweet milk in a greenhouse, when she looked at the aloof black figure, she suddenly felt a fighting spirit. This is really unrealistic, irrational. My Lan took off her glasses, cleaned them, and put them back on. No matter how many times she calculated, she couldn't see any hope of winning. Even so, she wanted to challenge that black figure, which didn't seem like her at all. The future holds infinite possibilities. Even if we lose now, we should at least learn something. Maintaining a pessimistic attitude towards the future, while still making an effort to face it, has become a part of Robin's life. She comes from the bottomless abyss. That is something even darker than dusk. Darker than darkness itself, deeper than the night, ruler of golden chaos. She is a deep abyss, she is destruction, she is slaughter, she can bring about the end of everything. Everything foolish that stood in her way would be reduced to dust in the pages of history. The little Robins shivered with fear, hiding behind Robin like never before. They were even too scared to look at the dark figure with mysterious golden eyes. Knights and the magic squad, return to the team. Swordsman team, return to the team. Support team, return. Just like butterflies dancing in a storm, with the help of their teammates and companions, the Starwings Knights girls who were once left behind, came back, one by one. What an amazing opponent. Finally, the vice-captain of the Starwings Knights, Xiao Cao, who was blown the farthest and almost rolled to the end of the horizon, returned. The Starwings Knights, once again, gathered together as a whole team. Mumu, it's okay, right? Who are you, who had made a certain decision, reached out and gently hugged the smallest member, who was standing motionless behind herself for some unknown reason. Mumu, not afraid, definitely not afraid. Mumu's big silver hair accessory swayed, and in Mumu's eyes, there was a certain unknown and complex radiance shining. Then, that's good, the real battle is just beginning. Perhaps, it's time for your power to be needed. As the leader of the Starwings Knights, Who Are You knew all the members of the Starwings Knights very well, and only the power of Mumu had a great uncertainty. Compared to Xiao Cao, who was gradually revealing her sharpness, Mumu was basically the Starwings Knights' little princess who brought joy and was loved by everyone. Only Who Are You faintly felt that perhaps, at this moment, the strongest member among the Starwings Knights was not her, nor Xiao Cao, but this child who was doted on by everyone. She had something hidden in her, even though she looked just like an ordinary little girl. But she was a child chosen by Mai, a mysterious girl who suddenly appeared like a gift from heaven to the Starwings Knights. If there was something unpredictable in the entire Starwings Knights, then that variable would be Mumu. That sister is really amazing. Mumu's eyes looked at the black figure in front of her, and some kind of intuition told her that the power displayed by the other person at this moment was even more incredible than anything she had ever seen. That sword wave that almost devastated the Starwings Knights was just a glimpse of her true strength. Merely standing there, she was as deep and unfathomable as a huge abyss. I know, her strength is impossible to imagine. But, we are not weak either, right? Who Are You gently caressed Mumu's head, and then stood up. It was clearly a battle that was destined to be lost, so it was time to gracefully admit defeat. When faced with an unbeatable enemy, surrendering is also acceptable. In the Code of Knighthood, there isn't a rule that says we must fight until the last person standing, refusing to retreat even when blood is shed. Who Are You's belief is to preserve our forces to the greatest extent possible and only sacrifice when absolutely necessary. Why is it that just by seeing this dark figure, there is an extremely intense feeling in my heart? I don't want to admit defeat. Only against this opponent, I don't want to say the words I lost, not even in death. Oddly enough, it's not just her, but the other members of the Starwings Knights as well. The sword broke, the shield shattered. With just one swing of their sword, the Starwings Knights were left in tatters. However, everyone's eyes didn't darken, but instead became even more radiant. That is the resolve and courage of these young girls, who will never give up no matter what they face. Chapter 994, Mumu's special move that is endless fighting spirit. That is the courage to challenge an opponent who seems unbeatable, with everyone united. Don't they know how terrifying Astaroth is? No, the terrifying power difference felt when almost all members were blown away in the previous attack, made everyone come to the same conclusion as Who Are You. The Starwings Knights cannot defeat this opponent now. The difference between them and that black figure is like a storm and a butterfly. Even if this storm is caused by the butterfly spreading its wings, it doesn't mean that the butterfly in the storm can withstand such a cruel disaster. About to collapse. Fluttering in struggle. Could fall down any time, breaking its own wings. Even so, it must fly. Even so, it must fight. The strong emotions in Captain Hua Yu's heart, also the swirling feeling in the hearts of all the members of the Starwings Knights. Only this person never wants to give up no matter what. Mai's black hair brings luck and hope, while this figure, also with black long hair, brings only utter despair. The Starwings Knights, prepare. Hua Yu once again raises his platinum cross sword and sacred cross shield, bestowing the entire team with the 2 Grand Legion skills, Divine Light and Platinum Sword. The Starwings Knights, full of fighting spirit, started to enhance their individual strengths, increasing the defensive power of the Holy Light by 30%, and the attack power of the Platinum Sword by an extraordinary 50%. This is a fighting power that exhausts oneself like burning, definitely not sustainable, but in order to defeat that terrifying black figure, all members of the Starwings Knights brought out their strongest state. At this moment, the Starwings Knights are shining like countless stars. The platinum-colored sword light shines, and a golden transparent sword blade over several hundred meters descends from the sky, launching a righteous judgment on that invincible black figure. This is the combined attack technique that gathers the power of all the Starwings Knights, the sacred platinum sword used by the Starwings Knights against supersized monsters. That several hundred meters long sword blade condenses the will and determination of all the Starwings Knights, truly living up to its name as the legendary ultimate move. Upon closer inspection, this sword blade is composed of countless intertwining starlights, which are the combined sword intentions of all the Starwings Knights, representing the strongest strike combining everyone's beliefs. In the recent battle against the Black Dragon Emperor and the 12 Black Cavalry, it was this sword that ultimately determined the outcome, becoming the ladder for the Starwings Knights to step into legend. It's beautiful. The black feathers fluttered as Astaroth swung the sword again. Just like carefully breaking a fragile butterfly's wings, the sword strike of Abyssal Condemnation tore the beautiful silk apart, splitting the platinum sword light into 2 neat pieces. The Starwings Knights, who gathered the strength of everyone, unleashed a sword that shook the heavens and earth, causing everyone's faces to turn pale. The difference is still too great. Even with the combined strength of all the Starwings Knights, this sword was no match for the red and black magic sword. The gap in fighting power between the two sides had reached an imbalanced level that couldn't be measured by numbers. It took great courage just to gaze at the red and black magic sword. It represented an endless abyss, the despair that devoured everything. The figure enveloped in the pitch-black armor, with its floating black wings, stood silently there, making the entire Starwings Knights struggle to breathe. At this moment, it was still Hua Yu who stood up. As the leader of the Starwings Knights, as the pillar of this still young Starwings Knights, she had a fiery gaze with platinum flames burning in her eyes. She didn't give up. Because the future of the Starwings Knights is much more than this. The future belonging to her, as revealed by the White Lotus secret treasure, and the future of the Starwings Knights, are just a small part of the true iceberg of the Starwings Knight. She believed more firmly than anyone else that the future of the Starwings Knights would be even more glorious and radiant than the present. The future she could achieve at this moment is only a small fraction of the true future of the Starwings Knights. Even in the face of an enemy like Astaroth, she persisted in believing that the Starwings Knights still had the possibility of victory. Until the last moment, she would never sacrifice easily. Until the last moment, she would never give up hope. Mai's luck will definitely bring a dawn of victory to the Starwings Knights. Mumu, it's about to start. Holding her tiny pink fists tightly, Mumu used her sweet voice to make a sound that didn't match her small body. That sound had a sacred and invincible dominance. Like a swift wind. Like a blazing fire. Like a thunderstorm. As if lava, Mumu's blood started boiling, igniting a terrifying momentum that shouldn't belong to a child her age. Compared to this momentum, the Black Dragon Emperor's Black Dragon soul seemed insignificant, like a tiny insect. Mumu. Ling Ling looked at Mumu, who was unleashing sacred power, with a big surprise. Obviously, she didn't expect such a twist here. This is really unexpected. My Lan's little mouth curved into a gentle arc. As the secretary of the Starwings Knights, she had no idea that this little buddy would be the one to step forward in the end. Although it's not very auspicious. I have a bad feeling. Robin knew that his luck was always terrible, and it seemed no different this time. Oh my, it's coming. The wings that blot out the sky, the beast that tears apart the world. This forbidden thing should not have appeared. A monster that should not have come into the world. Run. Run away quickly. The blood-soaked Robins screamed and ran around behind Robin, looking extremely panicked. Mom, grant me power. With powerful strength, I can help everyone. The silver restraints on Mumu's body shattered one after another, turning into dancing specks of light. With each shattered restraint, an indescribable energy surged within Mumu's small body. Along with it, the entire Starwings Knights' momentum also soared. Mumu, who was originally the weakest link in the Starwings Knights, instantly surpassed everyone in their battle ability. Yes, in this moment, Mumu has surpassed all the members of the Starwings Knights, unleashing unimaginable might. Is her solid body awakening? Astaroth looked at the rising platinum flames, and from Mumu's roar onwards, the entire battle ability of the Starwings Knights began to exponentially increase. The platinum shields imbued on them have already been strengthened by 300%. The platinum sword energy wrapped around them and increased by 200%. And this value continues to rise. This is the special army ability from the story The Starwings Knights Who Are You. She can unite all the Starwings Knights' powers together and use her own strength as a fulcrum to unleash the full fighting force of the Starwings Knights. For this reason, she even gave up her personal fighting talent, which could have been comparable to Xiao Cao, and focused on her armor-level skills. Therefore, her future is not just a Platinum Rose Knight but also the captain of the Starwings Knights. The power of the Starwings Knights is her power. In order to protect the Starwings Knights that she has built, she sacrificed her personal combat strength and devoted her future entirely to this Knight Order. No, it's not enough, I need more. Even with an increase in strength by more than 3 times the whole of the Starwings Knights, Mumu is still not satisfied. She instinctively feels that facing that black figure, a mere triple increase is nothing. To defeat this opponent, it seems like we'll need to multiply the Starwings Knights by 10 or even 100 times and move towards a distant future. Their future, compared to that dark figure, is like the difference between the sea and a stream. Even though Mumu used her hidden talent, it was just a drop in the bucket. Her power is strong, but not strong enough to turn the tide of the battle. 3 times. 5 times. 10 times. Mumu's current limit is probably about a 20-fold increase. This is the only limit she can reach in this future. Higher level improvements are impossible. The Starwings Knights became 20 times stronger, and not just one person, but all of the Starwings Knights increased at the same time. Even if the opponent is the Black Dragon Emperor, even 100 Black Dragon Emperors is not a match for the Starwings Knights at this level. The Starwings Knights, with their power increased 20 times, can even slay dragons. Even the powerful dragon breath cannot break through the 20 times stronger platinum shield of the Starwings Knights. Now they can try to hunt down the multi-headed demon dragon hiding somewhere in the Endless God's domain. 10 times, 15 times. Astaroth observed the Starwings Knights covered in the immense dragon power. At this point, Mumu's source of power could no longer be hidden. It is the power from the dragon race, and it is the purest and most sacred dragon bloodline. So, Mumu is a child of a dragon? After removing the restraints, Mumu's proud and holy aura couldn't be hidden. Even though their body is still so small, they give an unparalleled sense of greatness. That is not tall in appearance, but tall in the breath released by Mumu itself. Naturally sacred and pure, without a trace of dust. Like the dawn that runs through, bringing hope and strength to people. Simply, it is the silver dragon of dawn. 20 times. Mumu has freed herself from almost all of her restraints except for the silver collar around her neck. At this moment, even transparent silver horns have grown on Mumu's forehead, and endless flames are burning in her silver-white pupils. Oh! Mumu took over Hua Yu's place temporarily and became the core of the entire Starwings Knights. Oh! Oh, oh. As if something contagious, other members of the Starwings Knights shouted along with Mumu. In the sky, a transparent silver dragon claw suddenly tore towards Astaroth's location. The space was forcefully torn apart. The scenery of the void vanished in a flash from the position where the claw mark passed. This was not the power that the Starwings Knights, who had just entered the legend ranked, could use. This was the power of terrifying invaders who could tear down the barriers between world. I 20 times. Astaroth, who recognized the current state of the Starwings Knights, chuckled softly. The Starwings Knights finally took a solid step towards a higher field. The little princess who had been cared for and protected by everyone finally showcased her own potential. Even though the Starwings Knights, who will make the starry sky tremble in the future, are still very far away, the current Starwings Knights have already shown their brilliance. Like the first blink of the stars shining in the sky, this is the blessed Starwings Knights. At first, it was just a small coincidence. Then more coincidences created a scenery that no one could imagine, finally allowing the small group of girls to stand on the stage of the starry sky. Well, it's time to end it. Try to let them sleep peacefully like the members of the Starwings Knights they met on the second level. The future belongs to you, but for now, you just need to wait a little longer. You have already shown enough excellence on the stage of the White Lotus Secret Treasure Trial this time. The sword of red and black flew up, and the single-colored wings turned into flowing light soaring in the sky, followed by dozens of intersecting sword waves crashing down. Like the continuous dance of crescent moons, it is the sword light that the current Starwings Knights cannot resist. It is the dancing sword from the abyss. Even though Mumu unleashed her hidden power, multiplying the strength of the Starwings Knights by 20, the power of this new moon sword light is equivalent to 32 times the strength of the Starwings Knights. 32 compared to 20, a very simple and direct power comparison. As long as this round of sword energy falls, the Starwings Knights will surely lose. Watching the dancing sword energy of the new moon, Mumu gritted her teeth, closed her eyes, and unleashed her ultimate move. This move should never have been used, but this is the future of that White Lotus secret treasure, so using it once shouldn't be a problem. Yes, Mom will definitely forgive her. Mom, I have found news about Dad. Chapter 995, The Lock of the Stars. Mom, I have found news about Dad. These words, like an absolute forbidden curse, shot out from the large, silver, upright ear-shaped accessory on Mumu's head. In that instant, everyone in the Starwings Knights froze in their track. Something unimaginable, incomprehensible, and even the power that caused the future world predicted by the White Lotus secret treasure to collapse on a large scale began to appear on this battlefield. This secret realm is not capable of containing such power, because that is the power that truly comes from the creation level. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Countless dark chains pierced out from behind Mumu, surrounding the battlefield in the blink of an eye, expanding its scale by hundreds or even thousands of times. The power from the distant northern star domain, the power of the dragon god of order, is actively expanding, stabilizing, and at the same time, sealing off this realm. No matter where this world is, whether it's in the abyss, a secret realm, or a nightmare world on the other side of the world, it can't escape this lock. Each chain is entangled with the shadows of countless dragons and twinkles with the brilliance of star gems. This is a specialized chain that targets a special individual, specifically crafted for the properties of the world, the chain of Star Dragon. Like the scales of a cold creature, the chain of Star Dragon, numbering in the billions, completely seals off this sky. Whether it's the dimension teleportation of the legend-ranked magic system in the Western magical system, the faraway horizons of the Eastern Golden Core cultivators, or the dimensional rifts of abyssal monsters, they absolutely cannot escape from the blockade of the billions of chains of the Star Dragon. These reinforced chain of Star Dragons were created by the Great Mother of Time and Space, the Order Dragon God, the Supreme Dragon God of the Northern Giant Dragon God's domain, as a cage to capture the one and only precious treasure they desired to possess. The future that the White Lotus secret treasure originally calculated could not simulate such a scene. Just the existence of billions of chains of the Star Dragon would be enough to completely collapse the world of the crystal ball. However, at this moment, The power of creation is coming from the distant giant dragon god's domain at a ratio of 10,000 to 1, or even higher. If it weren't for the fact that the eastern god's domain is the territory of the western Queen Mother, the power of creation poured in would be even greater. From the moment Mumu shouted, this battle had nothing to do with the Starwings Knights anymore. Their souls and bodies were so immobilized that they couldn't even perceive what was happening now. The power of the chain of Star Dragon is able to block the flow of time and space. Even the future Starwings Knights with the legend ranked are frozen in the cage of time and space, just like a butterfly trapped in amber before the power of creation. In this frozen world where time and space are locked, there are only 2.5 units that can move. First, it is Astaroth, who holds the Abyssal Condemnation and symbolizes Yunshi's strongest future as the Abyssal Demon King. The other one is Mumu, the smallest member of the Starwings Knights, who acts as a coordinate point to transmit a certain message. And the half unit refers to the transcendent being who used Mumu as a coordinate point and exchanged the power of creation with a terrifying ratio of 10,000 to 1 in the extremely distant god's domain. The power of stagnant time and space is a tremendously large number, even beyond the imagination of the legend ranked. At this moment, the power emanating from Mumu not only completely seals off the time and space of this battlefield, but also constantly expands the range of this seal. The pitch-black chain of Star Dragon extends and weaves, forming a cage with more than 13 rings in an imposing manner that not even a mosquito can escape. With each additional ring of the seal, the ratio of power consumed from Mumu's projection increases continuously, quickly shifting from 10,000 to 1 to 20,000 to 1, 30,000 to 1. There are 10 legendary knights here, and they have all been taken away. Mumu's future? Astaroth looked at the endless chain of Star Dragon in the sky, and this future was somewhat terrifying. The abyss. Mumu's eyes had turned into a magnificent color that contained countless stars, staring cautiously at the beautiful figure with black hair and a single wing. It seems, this is not just Mumu's mischief. I can smell his scent, from you. Another little girl who has been deceived. The vertical pupils condensed into a dot, instantly releasing a power that humans could never comprehend. It was a power that surpassed the legend, unaffected by time, and even the river of time couldn't wash it away or shake it. It was an absolute power. It was the aura of dragon god Asha, the ruler of the countless dragon races of the heavens and worlds, the supreme dominator of the northern sky of endless god's domain. Also Mumu. Narable. Asha, the youngest member of the Starwings Knights, Mumu's real mother. You are. The black single wing behind Astaroth rose high, and the golden blood inside their body suddenly boiled. Ah, what a shock. That supreme power of the gods. That power that reigns over all creation. It is the beginning, and also the end. It is the power that can create everything and destroy everything. That is what Astaroth wants to pursue and also wants to destroy. The strongest demon king born from the chaotic golden ocean, the ultimate target that they want to hunt down. Very well, this opponent has the qualification to witness the true power of abyssal condemnation. If you make a contract with me, you will receive a reward. Take the time to feel what the abyss and punishment are. Do you want to challenge me? The supreme dragon god Asha, who had partially descended, raised her delicate little hand. The reason why Mumu has a diamond body is because she is a child protected by the orderly dragon god Asha, and she was born blessed with an eternal and indestructible body as the white holy dragon. No matter how severe her injuries are, she will always be able to be reborn, and the brief hibernation is only for the next perfect transformation. Losing to Lilibet, the guardian of the Sky Sword God's domain, and falling into the White Lotus Sword domain, it was just a small obstacle that Mumu encountered on her trial journey. She was born with a certain mission, to find a certain person whose exact location and future cannot be predicted by any prophecy or spell. Only that person, even if all the powers of the 4 creators are combined, and even if the 7 towers are turned upside down, cannot be captured in his true whereabouts. He is in heaven, he is in the abyss, he is in nightmares. He was in the past, he is in the present, he will be in the future. You don't know his name, but he is everywhere. Chapter 996, Mumu's true form in the sky. countless chain of star dragons simultaneously released 1,000,000 streams of light, shining on Mumu's delicate body. Ding, ding, ding. As if a huge shackle was being released, one after another sound came from Mumu's body. After each sound, Mumu's body would be enveloped in a silver-white airflow. The restraints that were originally on her turned into millions of metallic particles, creating a huge silver-white tornado in the world. Diamond body is an evolved type of solid body. It is a higher branch of the divine gift of human dreams, and its characteristics go far beyond making oneself indestructible. The white holy dragon, who was previously in a state of deep sleep due to serious injuries, only displayed the most basic talents of the diamond body when transforming into Mumu's form. At this moment, she was chosen by the power of the northern god's domain supreme dragon god Asha to descend. All her injuries have been healed, and even the characteristics of the diamond body have further improved. Mumu Narable Asha is an important tool used to search for and capture a child of the stars. Once news related to the child of the stars is discovered and transmitted back through the earring, it instantly transforms into a special incarnation for the Great Mother. Releasing the chain of Star Dragon to lock the spacetime is just the first step in clearing the field. Next, it is time to unleash the true power of the White Holy Dragon. As the daughter of the Supreme Dragon God Asha, Mumu is unable to fully unleash her inherited bloodline power due to her young age. She is still unable to defeat beings like Lilibet, who wields the Azure Divine Sword. But this only applies to her state as the White Holy Dragon herself. The power of the 8th rank is far from the limit of Mumu Narable Asha. Her body hides even more terrifying and destructive power. However, she is unable to control that kind of power in her young age, so it has always been sealed within her body by the supreme dragon god Asha. This is manifested externally as the silver-white collar on her neck. That is not a restrictive device, but a protective charm from dragon god Asha for her daughter, also suppressing her own uncontrollable power. Even when struck down by the blue god sword wielded by Lilibet, it remained undamaged. Now, this seal has been broken, because it is no longer Mumu Narable Asha herself who controls this body, but Her Majesty Supreme Dragon God Asha from the Northern God's domain. Even if it is just a slight will that crossed countless light-years, it still possesses the power of creation, enough to dominate the taboo sealed within the White Holy Dragon Mumu. Astaroth felt something familiar from the radiance projected from the billions of star dragons in the sky. Yes, among the billions of star dragons, there are countless precious star gems mixed in. Those are treasures personally collected by Her Majesty Supreme Dragon God Asha from the Northern God's domain, only born in the cores of a few mineral-rich planets, containing the power of stellar origins. The power projected onto Mumu comes from these star gems that have been mixed into the chain of star dragons, as she possesses the constitution to absorb them. At this moment, Astaroth seemed to recall something, those words that Mumu once said to him. The first time he encountered this mysterious silver-haired girl, she was barely concerned about her own safety, wearing nothing but silk pajamas. Although his memory was a bit fuzzy, he was certain of his goal. Mumu remembers, "I came to find Daddy, but something happened on the way and I fell down. When I woke up, I was already here, fallen here. No, I came to find Daddy, not lost. Mommy said, when I was really little, Daddy left us and went away, needing us to grow up and find him. I came out to find Daddy alone. Mommy said I could go outside. I believe, I will definitely be able to find Daddy. Mommy is the person in the whole world who loves Daddy the most, and Mumu also loves Daddy the most. Mommy said, as long as I find Daddy, Mumu will become the happiest child in the world." In the world, when they encountered the heavily injured White Holy Dragon, they learned its true name. "My true name is the White Holy Dragon Mumu Narabel $% Asha. In the primal dragon world, the Starwings Knights had a joyful little princess who would even laugh when facing the invasion of ancient gods. Mumu will be a bridesmaid. Oh, do bridesmaids also get married together? Big brother, this world is really interesting. Everyone is having so much fun." The White Mermaid suddenly appeared on the street of the mermaid game, shining with a sacred silver light, which is Mumu's true essence. He obtained the diamond body from her and the divine light suddenly possessed in the primal dragon world. The huge silver dragon nest that suddenly appeared in the future deduced by the White Lotus secret treasure, called the Starwings Knights. Everything, just like a string of pearls that were originally scattered, is now connected by an invisible thread. Mumu's true body, her current posture. She forcefully broke through Lilibet's barrier with the Azure God Sword and invaded the White Lotus Sword domain. One of the former girlfriends who poses a deadly threat to the Child of Stars, the Apostle. She is the White Holy Dragon, Mumu Narable * Asha, and also the youngest member of the Starwings Knights, Mumu. Moreover, she has another troublesome identity. She is not only the daughter of dragon god Asha, but also has the ability to absorb the power of the stars. In other words, her father is very likely, perhaps, maybe. Well, at that time, everyone in the Starwings Knights sympathized with Mumu's background. Wah, such a young child coming out to find her daddy. That despicable scoundrel who abandoned his wife and child is not human. How can he abandon such a cute child and run off? He's truly the scum of scums. This child's mother must have been very beautiful. Who on earth could abandon such a mother and child together? It's simply incomprehensible. Yes, absolutely heartless. Beast. Someone who can do such a thing will definitely have a miserable life. People, when they have bad luck, it's like even sipping cold water will hurt their teeth. Now, how will the trial of White Lotus secret treasure continue? The whole White Lotus sword domain is going to be destroyed. But I am innocent. Astaroth looked at the giant silver-white tornado that gradually formed into a huge figure, took a deep breath with a heavy sigh. Clearly, it is our side that is being chased, and we are even at the brink of death. In his heart, he kept telling himself to escape quickly. But his body was totally opposite. The blood of the owner of this body, Astaroth, who came from the chaotic Golden Sea, was boiling. Chapter 997, Yunshi's Choice. The Breath of the Dragon. The breath of the gods. The breath of the universe. At this moment, within the seemingly enormous silvery white tornado, is the perfect weapon created by the force of creation. It is the highest god weapon and the greatest fantasy. If one could kill such a thing, it would surely be very, very enjoyable. Only such prey could bring joy to the owner of the Golden Sea of Chaos, and a deep sense of satisfaction from within. Mortals, hero-ranked, even the messengers of gods, killing billions, still would not be enough to achieve what killing the Creator God's beloved possession gains. In a certain sense, this existence is a part of the Creator God itself, truly, the Son of God. Using this Son of God as the first kill for the Abyssal Condemnation is simply the most perfect ceremony. Kill. 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 In Astaroth's chaotic and nameless golden eyes, there was great joy and pleasure. If things continue like this, it will be really bad. Yunshi, who has allowed the strongest demon king from the chaotic golden ocean to do as he pleases, let out a sigh for the members of his own Starwings Knights. The current situation can be said to be completely unexpected for him. At this moment, Astaroth is him, yet not him. This figure, wearing a pitch-black armor, with a black single wing and long hair, is the strongest future he deduced after using the highest-level White Lotus secret treasure. However, he himself cannot understand in what form he exists in this future. The flow of the River of Time had a huge error when he came into contact with the magic sword named Abyssal Condemnation in the chaotic Golden Ocean. It seems that even the White Lotus secret treasure can't fully predict what will happen when he touches this Abyssal Condemnation. In the moment he touched the Abyssal Condemnation, countless huge streams of information overwhelmed Yunshi, causing his consciousness to go blank. By the time his consciousness slightly recovered, he had become Astaroth and dominated the entire crystal globe with absolute force. This body seems to have no concept of gender. It feels more like it is made up of the chaotic Golden Sea than his real body. But this is not a made-up future, and it may not even be the future anymore. Because he clearly feels his own existence, maybe his consciousness is only a small part within this Astaroth, but Astaroth has indeed appeared. Just like the strongest demon king that would only be born in the future, he has arrived here. Constant victories. Slaughter. Big, brutal killing. Killing that surpasses even gods. Starting from crushing that person's head with a finger, Astaroth's presence becomes stronger and stronger. Until this very moment, encountering the arrival of dragon god Asha, the most worthy opponent to be killed, Yunshi finds it extremely difficult to maintain his consciousness. Astaroth's consciousness, filled with infinite desires, refuses to obey even the highest gods. The strongest demon king, born from the deepest part of the Golden Sea of Chaos, is strongly influencing him. Perhaps, the person standing here right now is not actually Yunshi, but Astaroth. Only this strongest demon king from the Golden Sea of Chaos has the qualification to stand before Supreme Dragon God Asha and declare a battle. Even if I know it's wrong, I can't stop. Maya, you were right. Danger has actually been approaching. Once upon a time, Yunshi thought that the threat from his ex-girlfriend was a very, very distant thing. She was like a legendary creature, while he was just an ordinary bakery owner until his 16th birthday. Even though he awakened the memories of the Star Children and obtained the Star Spirit Maya, and even saw how his past life was torn apart, he still lacked a sense of reality. Originally, he planned to escape from the White Lotus Sword domain, even the Sky Sword God's domain, and live a secluded life in a place where no one knew him, gradually improving his strength through trials, and one day being able to live a life of freedom. Just because of Hua Hua's words, a forced action, he gave up this plan and ultimately stayed in the White Lotus Sword domain. There should still be plenty of time. The Endless God's domain is so vast, and the population of the White Lotus Sword domain is also so large. How could one of the apostles possibly find him, let alone the fact that he dressed Hua Hua in women's clothing? All luck was shattered. The power possessed by a legendary-level existence far exceeded Yunshi's imagination. Even without any clues, even if it was like finding a needle in a haystack to send apostles to search for a non-existent person, somehow they would always come into contact with clues. If caught here, life would be ruined. Even with the power of the Demon King, if this is my strongest future, then I can only choose this path. Sacred Tree Linjia may make mistakes, but there's no other choice. I will become the Demon King. Faced with a life-threatening situation just within reach, one of Yunshi's ex-girlfriends who could even defeat the stars, he had to reluctantly make a choice. If becoming the Demon King can save this big failure, then let's become the Demon King. The golden blood boils as Yunshi receives the reward of the Golden Sea of Chaos, the master of the choice. Yes, that's right. Free your body and mind, and accept this path. You will have the privilege of seeing the true form of the greatest Demon King, Astaroth. A huge tornado tears through the sky, destroying and shattering the entire battlefield of the legend-ranked crystal disk. In the end, only two positions remain unaffected, which are the two extraordinary beings in this White Lotus secret treasure trial. On one side, Hua Hua, with 3 Zaka, gazes into the invisible forbidden zone in the distance. On the other side, Su, riding on the blood-red giant, cloaked in a cape. Unfortunately, even they cannot see what happened under the blockade of the chain of billions of stars. In the light of the stars, the most magnificent divine form is born from the blessing of the creator dragon god. A dragon-shaped emblem is engraved on the forehead of this gigantic creature, which possesses immense power that transcends dimensions, causing even the starry sky to tremble with its great force. The stars turn into words, depicting the beauty of this celestial object bathed in starlight in countless writings. A massive illusion appears behind her. It is a void dragon bathed in starlight. Its gem-like black wings unfold behind her, sparkling with countless stars. Chapter 998, Star Hunting Dragon. Those are the real stars, the reflection of God's domain in the north. Her scales were pitch black, like the color of the void between the stars, but her skin shimmered with countless lights, like patches of stardust. Her eyes sparkled with a gentle silver glow, dazzling like the most beautiful gemstone. Her tail was made up of countless scales, each scale containing a sleeping baby dragon, waiting to be awakened. All miracles, all words of praise, can be bestowed upon her. She is the myth in the starry sky, the eternal legend, the goddess of creation. Among all beings in the entire starry sky with this level of power, they are few and far between. And within this select few highest beings, she ranks at the top as a goddess. Dragon god Asha, ruler of the starry dragon clan, the lord of the divine domain of dragons. She is the dragon of order, the mother of time and space, the creator, and also symbolizes birth, life, and death. The child embraced by the dragon of order in her wings is a strange existence that she has never seen before. She has a part that resembles a dragon, like the huge spiral silver-white dragon horn on her forehead, the silver-white dragon tail behind her, and the silver-white scales covering her whole body. And the other part is in the form of a human, but definitely not the rough and ugly appearance of a half-dragon. Golden ribbons hanging from her ears, engraved with countless dragon blessings. A precious gem burning with the fire of the sun on her shoulder, it is a version exclusive to the dragon furnace, made with dragon god Asha's scales, just like the golden crow princess. It can be called the dragon furnace Promaya. A towering and curvaceous chest, slender and supple waist, long and perfect legs, every part is a masterpiece of perfection. The part of her hands is protected by huge gauntlets made of the supreme dragon god's scales. Her red dragon teeth are her claws, and a dragon spear wrapped in countless chains is her weapon. On her chest is a dragon emblem similar to her forehead, but about 3 times larger. The difference is that the wings of the supreme dragon god Asha extend and almost completely overlap with the snow-white edges. Sun and flames. Pitch black and pure white. That is a strange creature made up of many extraordinary and illogical traits. It's a species that was not supposed to exist in this world. The white holy dragon is just a disguise. Mumu's existence is even more sacred and mysterious than that. She is a unique and special kind of dragon in the world, with the power of the stars and the dragon gods combined. She is a divine child. The specific breed of dragon for the divine child of the stars is called the star-hunting dragon. This is Mumu's race, given a special mission by the supreme dragon god. In terms of size, it is 3 times bigger than the white holy dragon's form. If she wasn't currently bound by countless star chains and restricted to a battlefield that expands multiple times its original size, just her own weight landing on the White Lotus Sword domain would cause a catastrophic disaster. Her current perfect posture in battle is what she truly looks like after unleashing her full power. Just like Astaroth standing before supreme dragon god Asha, this is Yunshi's future. Star-hunting dragon, growing into this form, is Mumu's future. Unlike Yunshi's choice, this is an absolute and unchangeable future. It is a special apostle prepared by the supreme dragon god to hunt down the divine child of the stars, his own daughter. Compared to the still humanoid Astaroth and the transformed Mumu, who has entered hunting mode, it is not an exaggeration to describe them as ants. So big, meaningless. Astaroth shrugged his shoulders. Simply being gigantic has always been considered effective in terms of power, even until reaching the rank of legend. If one possesses the mass and size of a stellar level, simply colliding with another god's domain can cause it to collapse, even without doing anything else. This is why those super long-lived creatures, who have lived for countless thousands of years, are referred to as pseudo-legends. Judging only from their attack power, these cosmic beings who have grown their own bodies to the level that is comparable to Ouroboros can frighten any existence below the legend-ranked. However, true legend-ranked beings never need to rely on enormous size to fight. Concept belief miracle eternal, that's the scary part of the legend-ranked. How can those simple accumulated monsters be compared to it? Of course, this kind of thing is not usable on the star-hunting dragon. Why does the star-hunting dragon, entrusted with the mission of hunting stars, appear half dragon and half human? That's because it is loved by both dragons and stars at the same time. Within that body, which is 3 times bigger than the white holy dragon, lies a destructive power. This power can shatter even the stars and has the ability to capture them. Whoosh! The long spear, entangled with countless chains, stretches out, breaking each surrounding chain one by one, revealing its true form. This is the lute of Supreme Dragon God, a long spear that was once beloved by one of the gods in the War of Gods Twilight. Its original name was the Eternal Meteor Spear. The tip of the spear is engraved with words of blessings from the gods, and the shaft is made from the branches of the world tree. It is truly a primal god weapon and a lord god weapon belonging to the divine realm. Special ability 1, it will always hit its target, even if the opponent flees to the ends of the world. Special ability 2, it pierces through all opponents, even deities cannot resist the radiance of this meteor spear. According to the myth, anyone who swears upon this spear will have their oath fulfilled, hence the origin of making wishes upon a shooting star. Its current name is Star Hunter. The divine words on the spear's tip have been replaced with Dragon God script, bestowed upon it by Supreme Dragon God Asha, granting the World Tree Branch even greater power. Special Ability 1: Endless Pursuit. The opponent marked by this long spear will be chased to the end of time, unless this long spear is destroyed. Characteristic 2: Dominating the dragon group. Whether it's the good dragon on the side of order or the evil dragon who betrayed the order, any dragon below the legend ranked absolutely cannot disobey the command of this spear. Characteristic 3: Dragon Language Pardon. By swearing in dragon language to this spear, one can gain power by fulfilling their own vows. The power of the third rule even exceeds the limits of the Supreme God and can only be bestowed by the Creator God himself. The newly born Star Hunter is stronger and more adaptable than the original Eternal Meteor prototype, making it the perfect god weapon for the star-hunting dragon exclusively used by the Children of the Stars. Once locked onto by this spear, even if the Child of the Stars flees to the ends of the earth, they cannot escape. Once the Dragon Language Pardon is activated, Mumu can even defeat enemies stronger than herself. Well, if she can correctly use the power of the Dragon Language Pardon. Chapter 999, Golden Blood. After gazing at the tiny figure on the ground for a few seconds, the illusion of Dragon God Asha, who appeared behind the true form of star-hunting dragon, began to transform into countless disappearing starlights. At this moment, the energy consumption of the teleportation power from God's domain in the north to this crystal disk space has exceeded a ratio of 10,000 to 1. To sustain the energy displayed by the true form of star-hunting dragon every second, if converted into gemstones in Western God's domain, it would be enough to bankrupt a small-scale God's domain instantly. The entire Endless God's domain can only support such a ratio of space consumption for the arrival of a few supreme beings. In the silver-white pupils, flames burn fiercely, flames that even the young Mumu wouldn't possess. Why does star-hunting dragon exist? Like the golden chaotic demon king who showed his initial prowess, this is the first time the super ace apostle of the dragon clan from the northern god's domain has been deployed in actual combat. Regardless of whether it is heaven, hell, abyss, or nightmare, as long as there are clues about the Child of Stars, they must be hunted down to the end. No matter what, even if it means starting a war with the other supreme beings, they would do it without considering the consequences. No matter how small the clues are, as long as they are certain they are related, it is worth putting in the greatest effort. That flame, it's a flame of determination, a flame of duty, shining with the blessings of stars and dragons. Ding! The chain of star dragon smoothly transferred ownership, switching the master to the awakened form of the star-hunting dragon. Being trapped in a time imprisonment of more than 13 rings, even if gods were here, they would have a hard time escaping. This is the prison dilemma specifically created for the Children of the Stars, Mumu Narable Asha, as the star-hunting dragon. Every strand of hair and every dragon scale on their body was born for this purpose. No matter where they chase, they must find their father. Wherever Dad is, Mumu is there too. They hold the most powerful chains of the stars, wielding the Lord God weapon level of the Star Hunter, traversing every corner of the Endless God's domain. If Endless God's domain cannot be found, they will venture outwards towards the distant unknown barren starry sky beyond Endless God's domain, swearing towards Star Hunter to find Dad. This is the vow Mumu Narable Asha made after hatching from the star gem's eggshell. Dad. Asha's will is Mumu Narable Asha's will, a mission she was assigned before she was even born. Furthermore, she herself follows this will, longing intensely to meet her dad. For her, there is no greater happiness than this. It is like a natural instinct for a creature to crave air. The tip of Star Hunter's gun spins, releasing a massive light blade, targeting that rebellious, soaring, pitch-black figure. Judgment from Supreme Dragon God Asha. This is an enemy that needs to be defeated. Input: Command of the Dragon Oath. Attack. Countless cutting light blades danced in the air, each one possessing the power to cleave mountains and rivers. They were the attributeless blades of starlight, a gift from the star-hunting dragon. Let me see the power of the Creator God. Astaroth's chaotic and nameless golden eyes shimmered with excitement. Yun-Shi, who shared consciousness with Astaroth, saw the chaotic golden sea begin to ripple. In the beginning, it was just a small pebble that accidentally fell into this vast ocean. Compared to the vast and boundless golden chaos, this pebble was as inconspicuous as a grain of sand in the river of destiny. However, this marked the transformation from nothing to something. Located in the deepest abyss, beyond the reach of external observation and interference, the golden sea of chaos had its first visitor. The small pebble shattered the long silence of the golden sea of chaos, just like plucking the strings of destiny, awakening this sea from its slumber. Yun-Shi, this tiny pebble. At this moment, the powerful supreme dragon god Asha of the creation level appeared, just like a meteor crashing into the golden sea of chaos, following the path opened by Yun-Shi, the tiny stone of destiny, and ushering the entire golden sea of chaos into a turbulent era. An existence that should not have appeared in this era. The golden demon king that was still in the process of gestation opened its eyes. Activate the realm of infinite desires. Her name is Astaroth. Recognized by the abyss, born from the magnificent golden sea of chaos, the strongest demon king, the body is undergoing changes. The golden blood rushes rapidly within this body, boiling. The human body is not capable of supporting such changes. Yun-Shi witnessed the rapid disintegration, reorganization, and regeneration of the human body structure he was familiar with. This body came from a distant future but exists in the present. Because of the golden sea of chaos, the past, present, and future all coexist. The predictions made by the White Lotus secret treasure can only simulate future paths of destiny. However, the creative power of the supreme dragon god Asha can turn the impossible into possible. She can directly elevate Mumu, who is still young, to the ultimate form, which is the current star-hunting dragon state. This is the privilege bestowed upon Mumu as a star-hunting dragon. When necessary, Supreme Dragon God Asha can use her body as a vessel. Even at the cost of tenfold consumption, they must catch the escaping child of the stars and not give him any chance to escape. The Golden Sea of Chaos can also accomplish the same thing. Following the future path deduced by the White Lotus secret treasure, after confirming the existence of Elise within Yun-Shi's body, the Golden Sea of Chaos responded to the will of Astaroth, opening up a passage. This transformed Yun-Shi's future, which was originally just a projection, into the true embodiment of the Demon King. Only those who are recognized by the Chaos Sea and possess even a fraction of Astaroth's will can bring this golden chaos into their own blood. This is a characteristic that comes from the Chaos Sea. Creatures with this blood can even produce golden magic crystals equivalent to the highest level strategic magic resources. Similarly, only those with this golden blood have a chance to open the door to the endless desires of the field. The human body cannot be infinitely strengthened, but those with golden chaos blood have this possibility. The golden blood of the Demon King is proof of recognition from the golden chaos sea. It is the Demon King's proof belonging to Astaroth. Endless golden runes run through this body, converging into an ocean equivalent to infinite rules. Just like the advancement from the White Holy Dragon to the Star-Hunting Dragon, symbolizing the ultimate perfect evolution of Mumu's life, Astaroth standing before the Star-Hunting Dragon has also completed this step. Chapter 1000, Abyssal Condemnation. Golden light dances behind Astaroth, reflecting the scenery of the endless golden chaos sea. With a gentle touch of fate's strings, Yun-Shi opened the door that should not have been opened. A miracle that brings together countless impossible elements has arrived. A golden demon king, Astaroth, who should not have appeared in this era. The cursed sword, Abyssal Condemnation, which shouldn't have been born in the present. The strongest demon king and the star-hunting dragon, Astaroth vs Asha. Like a predetermined destiny, this battle begins with the dance of the star hunter. Bang! Bang! Boom! Even though the heart was beating intensely, there was no feeling of rapid breathing, which was astonishing. Maybe it was because this body didn't need to breathe at all. With Abyssal Condemnation held in both hands, Astaroth stepped into the sky and swung his sword boldly under the suppression of the chain of billions of stars. He could hear the sound of jubilant cheers, as the golden blood within his body boiled, constantly pouring out power in response to Astaroth, the strongest demon king's will. The huge ripples turned into towering waves, sweeping everything, covering everything, devouring everything. The ultimate desire is infinite freedom. As the demon king of the Golden Sea of Chaos, he is not bound by any common knowledge. Even if the opponent is a supreme deity, he will never retreat. Even though they have a similar body shape to humans, the sword aura released when wielding Abyssal Condemnation completely consumes the starlight wielded by Star Hunter. It looks as if there is an endless abyss of darkness, devouring all the starlight. The aftermath of their clash causes the earth to tremble and the sky to shake. And this is merely a tentative warm-up between the two. On the ground, golden crystals have emerged at some point. They are a manifestation caused by the magic flowing out from Astaroth's body, corroding the land with a golden crystal landscape. In the sky, the chain of Star Dragon is the main stage. More star gems are attracted by star-hunting dragon Mumu, who possesses the blessing of half of the stars, releasing the power of the stars contained within. The earth undergoes transformation towards the abyss. The sky begins to form the outline of a nebula. The heavens and the earth. Light and darkness. Abyssal Condemnation and Star Hunter. This battle is powerful enough to destroy the entire White Lotus Sword domain. If it wasn't for the complete blockade of this space by the chain of Star Dragon, combined with the creation power from Supreme Dragon God Asha that expanded this battlefield countless times, not only would the White Lotus Sword domain be affected, but also the surrounding stars would be affected by this battle. The Starwings Knights, who were originally one of the instigators of this war, have been relocated to the outer area of the chain of Star Dragon by the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narable Asha. This is not a place where they can stay, not even for a moment due to the aftermath. The battle has reached a level where no one can stop it. She cannot stop it. Astaroth, who is in an excited state, cannot stop it. Mumu couldn't resist the influence of Dragon God Asha's will. So, let's fight. TSK. The enormous Star Hunter spun again, its gun tip sparkling with dragon language inscriptions. Depo. Attack. Ice-cold, star-hunting dragon Mumu uttered flawless dragon language syllables, taking a step back and then gripping the gun with both hands, locking onto the tiny Astaroth. In this battle with such a huge difference in size, it doesn't mean that the larger one has an absolute advantage. In a battle where both sides have similar strength, the giant wanting to kill an ant as powerful as itself is a big problem. So, we need to use the power of dragon language inscriptions to amplify and lock onto our opponent. Attack, representing absolute attack, and Depo, granting double impact. The time has come. Astaroth stretched out its comfortable black wings, and countless black chains connected to the heart of its body on Abyssal Condemnation. This sword doesn't need to be charged. Because the charging process was already completed during the warm-up activities just now. Only she saw clearly how Astaroth effortlessly drove its body, which was filled with chaotic magic in its golden blood. It turned the moves that would normally require some time to prepare into numerous pre-programmed actions, and then unleashed them. Undoubtedly, this is also a divine sword technique, a technique that the human body cannot bear. It is completely different from theoretical and high-limit sword, the sky-flying sword. Perhaps, it should be called the Demon King's sword, because only those with golden blood like Astaroth can perform this technique. It is the ability to transform the infinite flowing desire into power. Just like countless rivers converging together, eventually becoming like the ocean, the outcome is already decided even before the sword is drawn. The desire to defeat the opponent becomes stronger, with no visible limit. Perhaps, this is the power that can kill the Genesis existence in the endless God's domain. The black sword light became a tear in the ground, a flowing light that pierced the sky, leaving a deep scar in the world. Demon King's sword technique, Dark Mark. Power, unlimited. That black sword mark, like the abyss itself, can tear apart any world and bring destruction. Even facing the Lord God weapon from the era of the Twilight of the Gods, Abyssal Condemnation still exhibits absolute suppression. This is also the first time she truly understands why this magic sword is recognized by the stars as one of the three swords that reign over the endless starry sky in the past, present, and future. Unlike the Starwings, which still cannot unleash its power in his hands, Abyssal Condemnation, in Astaroth's hands, made its debut in Endless God's domain and revealed its terrifying power to completely suppress a divine Lord God weapon. The body of the star-hunting dragon, exceeding 10,000 meters and weighing more than triple that of comparable celestial bodies, was blasted dozens of body spans away under the dark mark of Abyssal Condemnation. For the first time, visible black marks appeared on the untouched Lord God weapon gun body from the era of the Twilight of the Gods. You are. For the first time, the will of the supreme dragon god that descended into Mumu's body appeared slightly surprised, and its voice became somewhat intermittent. In the instant when they were pushed back, the energy transmission from the northern god's domain to this secret treasure space consumed 30,000 times more than its peak, reaching a horrifying level. If you're not serious, you will die soon. No, you are already dead. A cruel arc appeared at the corner of Astaroth's mouth, extremely ferocious, belonging to just a small glimpse of the most powerful demon king. A deep black mark appeared on star-hunting dragon Mumu's originally pristine white belly. It was a wound caused by the Abyssal Condemnation, and also the entrance for the erosion of the boundless power of the abyss. As a star-hunting dragon blessed by the dragon clan and the stars, she was supposed to be immune to all toxins and curse power, just like how there could never be water in the sun. However, this strike of the Abyssal Condemnation shattered the star-hunting dragon's absolute blessed physique, forcefully sending immense abyssal power into her body. Or perhaps it shouldn't be called a curse, as what is corroding star-hunting dragon Mumu's body is none other than the abyss itself. You can break the curse of the abyss projection and reject all the whispers of the ancient gods, but when facing the abyss itself, there is no other way than to confront it with an equal level of power. Luckily, as a star-hunting dragon with the characteristics of half a constellation, I possess this level of power. The dragon furnace on my shoulder ignites, releasing a power equal to that of the sun, forcefully dispelling the abyss. 1 sun, 2 suns, 3 suns appear behind the star-hunting dragon, and a faint golden dragon shadow can be seen at its core. That is the unfinished part being constructed by Mumu, a war tool created with the sun as its core. Even supreme dragon god Asha cannot forcibly enhance it, the special auxiliary weapon called Dragon Furnace. After all, in a certain sense, this is the only legacy left by that person for Mumu. Light Furnace. A modified version? Mixed within Astaroth's consciousness, Yunshi gazes at those 3 small golden light furnaces. The structure of the light furnace is the same, but there are many inexplicable things mixed within. With the incomplete memories inherited from the constellation, it is impossible to tell what the structures beyond the original version of the light furnace are. However, it seemed obvious that these things were specially prepared for Mumu, with a style that perfectly suited the characteristics of a giant dragon. Is this my past work? Or is it an unfinished masterpiece? Forever blazing sun. This time, it wasn't the dragon language inscription system, nor the penetrating sound that belonged only to the supreme dragon god Asha, but Mumu's voice. 3 unfinished dragon furnaces released a massive sun's true fire, gathering at the fingertips of the star-hunting dragon Mumu. In Mumu's eyes, there was joy, nostalgia, and longing. The intensity of these emotions even dispersed some of the absolute order aura from her mother, dragon god Asha. This is more interesting. Even if it's the sun, I will extinguish it to show you. Astaroth stepped with graceful strides. The outcome was predetermined long ago. The boiling realm of infinite desires had already prepared all the power that Astaroth needed. The process of gathering strength, not needed. Changing my real name is not necessary. The strongest demon king's power is being able to use it whenever they want and release it whenever they want. Mumu completed the combination of the sun runes on her fingertips. It was the legacy that her dad had given her, the special talent she possessed but had never used before, a shining brightness. Every day, the sun rises from the ground, even when surrounded by unforgiving darkness. I will use my imperfect body to shatter it for you and for it. Like a nursery rhyme etched in her memory, she possesses a side of her father's sun, destined to radiate a brilliant light that illuminates everything. The name Mumu Narable symbolizes a holy and pure light. Chapter 1001, Starbridge. That child woke up. Unlike the first time star-hunting dragon opened its eyes with coldness, this moment, Yunshi inside Astaroth could clearly feel the budding enthusiasm. Mumu was making its own sound. The power to make Mumu narrable Asha's own sound was given by the 3 dragon furnaces that were not yet fully constructed. Although compared to the supreme dragon god Asha's power of creation, this power was still very small, but it truly belonged to Mumu itself. Mumu had the potential to become a sunwalker, just like the Golden Crow Princess. The golden sunlight formed 3 intertwining orbits, directly confronting the dark mark cut by Astaroth with abyssal condemnation. The 3 golden threads kept advancing in that deep black sword scar, until the power was exhausted. This was the first actual battle of the young Mumu's own sound, with the participation of the 3 dragon furnaces. The result of the battle was that Astaroth's dark mark was torn and consumed by about 1/3 of its power. After that, the abyss reappeared and the body of the star-hunting dragon was dyed in the black color of the abyss. An endless abyssal aura erupted, making the once sacred and pure body appear tainted. More golden crystals stood tall on the battlefield, like a giant forest extending and thriving. With the increase of golden crystals, the abyssal marks entwined on the body of the star-hunting dragon became even more terrifying, and even started to unnaturally grow. The exquisite pure white body of the star-hunting dragon was being invaded by the power of the abyss, and even started to assimilate. This was not something that could be exempted by any curse-immune constitution. This was a direct devouring from the abyss, as if biting into the body of the star-hunting dragon. Not enough. Not enough, use more power. Astaroth savored the increasingly chaotic and golden taste surrounding him. The world was being corroded by the power of her own demon king, and the direction of the battle was developing overwhelmingly unfavorable for supreme dragon god Asha. The taste is good, it is perfect for hunting the child of God. Dragon god Asha, who should have had a higher level of power advantage, is actually at a disadvantage. The reason for this situation is really simple. This is not the home field of supreme dragon god Asha, the ruler of the northern god's domain. Just opening a channel to send the power of creation here consumes more than 100,000 times the energy. Moreover, more than half of the power projected here is used to maintain the chain of Star Dragon, which spans more than 13 rings. Only the remaining half is used to construct the body of the star-hunting dragon. In comparison, although not in their true form, Yunshi's body with Elise, as well as the uncontaminated nature of the Starchild's soul, Astaroth can be said to be extremely comfortable on this battlefield. Compared to Asha's consumption ratio of 100,000 to 1, Astaroth's consumption ratio to extract power from the golden chaotic ocean is less than 10 to 1. To put it bluntly, this place is equivalent to her absolute home field. Holding the abyssal condemnation, she is not afraid even when facing the creation dragon god. Asha wanted to interfere more on the battlefield, but she needed to use up more power. Normally, no renowned general would dare or could fight with a loss ratio of 100,000 to 1 against 10 to 1. It was a guaranteed defeat. However, Asha insisted on fighting, and not only that, she wanted to win. The power to create the world was so arbitrary and unreasonable. Not to mention a loss ratio of 100,000 to 1, even if it was 1,000,000 to 1, the supreme dragon god of the northern god's domain didn't care. The only thing that restrained her was the ruler of the Kunlun god's domain, which also existed since the creation of the eastern god's domain, the Queen Mother. This wasn't the northern god's domain. Sending power across billions of light-years was an impossible task, even for Asha, the godly dragon of creation. She still needed to follow certain rules of the cosmos. A loss ratio of 1,000,000 to 1 didn't discourage the supreme dragon god Asha, but there was a limit. Even though she used her power of creation to remodel this secret space, she had reached its limits. This is the land of the eastern god, and we cannot allow any more power from the northern god to pass through. The main reason why Star-Hunting Dragon is at a disadvantage is because the limit of its support power is almost reached, and this limit has not exceeded the maximum attack value of Astaroth Abyssal Condemnation. Supreme Dragon God Asha is thinking. Supreme Dragon God Asha made a judgment based on a certain intuition deep within. Supreme Dragon God Asha has decided to activate the highest authority as the master of the Dragon Tower and unlock the hidden ability of the Star Bridge. Astaroth severely bullied star-hunting dragon with Abyssal Condemnation, finally causing dissatisfaction from the Supreme Dragon God in the far northern God's domain. As a result, everyone in the Endless God's domain noticed that about 1/7 of the light bands connecting all the God's domains in the Endless God's domain through the Star Bridge have changed. As a bridge connecting the Endless God's domain, the Star Bridge, which is connected by the 7 towers, has incredible power, allowing it to completely cross billions of light-years in a very short time. This is a way of connection that far exceeds the speed of light, and it is also the foundation for the existence of the Endless God's domain. The several primordial beings and many ancient gods located at the highest point of the Endless God's domain are the ones who established the 7 towers and ultimately built these star bridges. However, even they are not the true creators of the Star Bridge. They are just builders, and the principles of the Star Bridge and the construction of the 7 towers all trace back to an even older person. A person who can design and build the 7 towers and these star bridges. A person who can bring together different civilizations and gods that were originally impossible to meet. A person who is loved by many, many gods and even great beings of the primordial level, but eventually becomes hated because of love. One of the principles of the Star Bridge's existence is that no matter how far the distance, it can search for the person one wants to find. To meet you, a bridge was built towards the stars. As long as the brilliance of the stars continues to shine, there will be a day when we will meet again under this starry sky. One of the 7 creators who built the Star Bridge, Supreme Dragon God Asha, holds 1/7 of the highest authority. At this moment, she used this privilege. Following a certain intuition brought by her youngest daughter, Mumu, she broke the established rules since someone disappeared and projected her power into the White Lotus Sword domain. In front of the Sky Tower, the blue divine sword on Lilibet's head suddenly stood up, pointing to the highest point of the Sky Tower. 1/7 of the Star Bridge changed its color. That was the signal of the arrival of the will of the Dragon God of Creation. Chapter 1002, The Arrival of Asha, the light flowing on the Star Bridge. Like the most beautiful music notes in the world. So wonderful, full of colors. Crossing billions of light-years, from the furthest northern God's domain in the Endless God's domain, heading towards the center of the Eastern God's domain. The Star Bridge connects the bands of light of different God's domains, with the incredible ability to transform light-years of distance into a single step. It is a symbol of civilization in the Endless God's domain. Each tower is a node of the light bridge, spread throughout the entire Endless God's domain. However, the light bridges are not always completely clear and unobstructed between each other. Due to various reasons or differences in the world's laws, many God's domains set up checkpoints for outsiders. It is necessary to apply in advance and obtain permission to pass through the light bridge into the God's domain. These restrictions can be based on race, identity, or some closed God's domains that almost reject all outsiders. The highest point of Eastern God's domain is called Fantasy God's domain, Kunlun God's domain. It is a closed-off and elevated place. The number of licenses to enter God's domain that can be obtained is a symbol of the power of the various forces and chambers of commerce in Endless God's domain. The entry permit for certain special God's domains is often enough to support the lifeline of a large chamber of commerce, with a heritage of millions of years. However, at this moment, the flowing light swiftly traveling from Northern God's domain to Eastern God's domain ignores all the barriers set up in God's domain. Any creature that has reached the legend-ranked level can feel the enormous power raging through the light bridges. This is an unstoppable will that permeates Endless God's domain and has the absolute power to shatter all Star Bridge barriers. 1/7 of the light bridge region from Northern God's domain to Eastern God's domain is completely covered by this power. This is an unprecedented event in Endless God's domain. If the owner of this power wants to invade the God's domains connected by the light bridges, the God's domains without the bridge barriers will be completely defenseless against this presence. Who is it? I remember this kind of power. No. It can't be. The supreme aura from the north. It is. The ruler of the Starry Dragon clan, the Supreme Queen Asha. After overcoming their initial fear, The legends within the range of this power were stunned. More than one person guessed who the owner of this power was. However, the answer was simply too shocking. Disregarding the rules of the light bridge, forcefully projecting their power, and completely taking over about 1/7 of the light bridge from the northern god's domain to the eastern god's domain, are they planning to launch a battle of supreme ranking gods? Once it reaches that point, it will be another twilight of the gods. This signal made dozens of legend ranks on this path tremble. Just the thought of the outcome of a war between the northern god's domain and the eastern god's domain sent shivers down everyone's spines. That was a battle of the highest level of creation, a battlefield where even the gods of the legend ranked would fall. Since the end of the twilight of the gods' battle, Endless God's domain entered a whole new era connected by the Seven Towers, and there hasn't been a war of this level since then. What could be the reason that the supreme dragon god of the northern god's domain, at all costs, called for 1/7 of the light bridge? This is an unprecedented serious situation. Is war really about to come? White Lotus Sword Domain, a secret treasure space. 3 golden dragon furnaces tightly stuck to Mumu Narable, the star-hunting dragon, and they are working hard to dispel the invasion of the abyss. On the originally pure white body of the star-hunting dragon, there are already dozens of marks from the abyss, and they continue to multiply. Astaroth's dark mark is completely devouring this newborn star-hunting dragon. In the sky, countless stars slowly rotate in a chain, seemingly without any intention of rescuing star-hunting dragon Mumu Narable from her predicament. On the ground, more golden crystals emerge, gradually eroding the scenery and resembling Astaroth's favorite golden sea of chaos. Something is coming. Yunshi can sense that the tormented star-hunting dragon Mumu, who is losing her strength to resist, is merely a sideshow for Astaroth. She seems to be waiting for something. Similarly, the chain of Star Dragon, which has tightened its blockade and no longer provides power to Mumu, is also awaiting something. The temporary calm in the war feels suffocating, like the final silence before a storm. Beyond the chain of Star Dragon, there unexpectedly appears another entity. Zi Yuan, the future owner of the Ghost Sword Domain and a member of Yun Q's team in the White Lotus secret treasure trial. The black-haired girl silently arrived at this battlefield, which even the legend ranked is not qualified to witness. She, alongside 2 other factions, gazes at the enclosed battlefield constructed by the chain of billions of stars. Hua Hua's occasion. Why would something like this appear in a place like this? Since a little while ago, Hua Hua couldn't help but feel restless. The scenery in front of her far exceeded her expectations. Wasn't this supposed to be the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure? Did you know about this before starting the trial? Hua Hua asked. Surprisingly, the ones she asked were the hosts of this trial, the twin witches of destiny. We are just observers of destiny. We can't decide which direction the river of fate will flow. Even if you're the chosen inheritor selected by the White Lotus secret treasure, it doesn't mean you know everything. The voice of the White Lotus echoed in Hua Hua's ears, carrying a sacred and ethereal scent. However, there were some strange parts to it. In this world, who can truly see the future? The gathering of the fiery-haired warrior and the mysterious girl named Sue. Yes, it's true. It seems Asha fell for it. Exactly. Shea Longness's information wasn't just a rumor. This time she deserves recognition. The abyss is staring right here. Sue lifted her cloak, revealing a bright and silly smile. This time it's our great victory. Zi Yuan's event. Okay. She has arrived. Zi Yuan nodded gently as the sword shadow of Ghost Sword appeared in front of her, serving as a marker to lock onto this battlefield. In the next second, endless brilliance erupted from Azure Excalibur, which Lilibet had guarded within the Sky Tower planet, washing away the entire White Lotus Sword domain. This power came directly from the distant northern god's domain, bypassing the limits of this god's domain's rules. It was equivalent to dragon god Asha personally taking action against the White Lotus Sword domain. In the face of such immense power of creation, the White Lotus Sword domain was like a tiny leaf, forcefully pulled out of the system of the Sky Sword god's domain and forcibly dragged into the Star Bridge. Asha's will has descended. Chapter 1003, Infinite Power White Lotus Sword Domain. The Sky Tower. The tower, located next to the White Lotus Sword Palace, is collapsing loudly. This tower is a projection from the true Sky Tower in a higher world. The power of the dragon god Asha has torn the entire White Lotus Sword domain away from the Sky Sword God's domain system. The Sky Tower built on the White Lotus Sword domain is also facing its own demise. The true Sky Tower, which connects the various star bridges of the Endless God's domain and represents the pinnacle of Endless God's domain civilization, is one of the 7 towers. In front of it, Lilibet pulled out her divine sword, the Sky Sword, with the azure Excalibur. At this moment, the divine sword, representing the power of order, is emitting a continuous high-pitched sound. Because someone has intervened and disrupted the order maintained by one of the highest-level orders in the Endless God's domain, the 7 towers. The rules have been broken. In the compass on the icy blue hilt of Lilibet's divine sword, a reflection of an incredibly massive dragon claw appears. This dragon claw is even larger than the entire White Lotus Sword domain itself. There are billions of people living here, and because of the appearance of the White Lotus secret treasure, many noble families from the Endless God's domain have gathered here. The White Lotus Sword domain of the noble children is like a toy compared to this giant dragon claw. The power that makes up this giant dragon claw comes from the distant stars, from the throne at the northernmost part of the Endless God's domain. She is the dragon of order, the mother of time and space, the creator, and symbolizes birth, life, and death. Asha, the dragon god, is the ruler of the Starry Sky Dragon clan and the master of the dragon god's domain. On the compass handle of Lilibet's azure Excalibur, a partial outline of dragon god Asha is reflected. It is a void dragon bathed in starlight, with countless stars shining in its pitch-black wings, representing different gods' domains. Within the black scales that make up her tail, countless baby dragons are sleeping. Black dragons, red dragons, green dragons, white dragons, and yellow dragons. Gem dragons, fairy dragons, jade dragons, and the white holy dragon. She is the origin of the Starry Dragon clan. All dragon bloodlines, whether good dragons or evil dragons, can be traced back to her in the Endless God's domain. Her will is the will of the Dragon clan. She is the eternal mythical dragon of the Dragon clan, the dragon god of creation who possesses the power of origins and creation. This is not allowed. Lilibet lifted her head, her blue hair instantly standing upright, emitting a special signal. At the same time, several forces in the treasure space made similar actions. Through the star bridge, a distance of billions of light years can be reduced to 0. Dragon god Asha, who first broke the rules, directly projected her power into the White Lotus Sword domain. This action, like a fuse, caused a huge commotion throughout the Endless God's domain. However, Asha didn't care. She didn't pay attention to what consequences this action might have or what misunderstandings it might lead to. When it's time to take action, do it without any hesitation. The cost of hesitation and indecisiveness is something Asha experienced once and never wanted to try again. Humans, when they make mistakes, will face punishment and the suffering of imprisonment. This is because human society has spontaneously formed certain rules or a fixed order. However, this doesn't make any sense to dragon god Asha, who is at the level of creation. Even if she makes a mistake, no one has the right to punish her, let alone judge her as guilty. Those who dare to do such things must be tired of living. Inside the secret treasure space, a massive beam of light descended from the sky, enveloping the already wounded star-hunting dragon. The chains of billions of stars began to move, tighten, and exerted immense pressure towards the inside of the secret treasure space. This means that the cage has finally entered the final stage of capture. Dragon god Asha, who projected his own power directly into the White Lotus Sword domain, couldn't wait to reap the fruits. Ha ha ha, here it comes, here it comes. I've been waiting for you. Astaroth, who had almost completely occupied the earth with the crystal disk, firmly gripped Abyssal Condemnation and plunged it deeply into the ground. Hundreds of golden crystals rose from the ground, resembling countless golden blades standing on the earth. Yes, this is the moment Astaroth has been waiting for. Not to fight against star-hunting dragon, who is just a puppet, but to battle the real dragon god Asha, facing the power belonging to the creation level, which even the legend ranked cannot reach. It is hailed as the strongest embodiment of the world's ultimate rule, the most powerful, feel. Only such an enemy can arouse the fighting spirit of the strongest demon king born in the golden sea of chaos. The shining light that fell from the sky immediately dispersed all the darkness that surrounded star-hunting dragon Mumu Narable, and it had a powerful force that made people want to kneel down on the ground. The power of the Creator God. Rebellion. Destruction. With endless desires, it triggers endless changes and plunges the world into chaos. The golden crystal patterns appeared on the blade of Abyssal Condemnation, and more runes began to dance on the sword, which came from the golden sea of chaos and belonged to the Demon King. If the power of creation represents the highest level of the endless god's domain, then the power of the Demon King represents a kind of chaotic and extreme disorder. The Demon King is a powerful being that destroys order and tramples on rules, and it is also the destiny that Astaroth holds. Let me show you what the abyss looks like. A pleasant curve appeared at the corner of Astaroth's mouth, and his golden blood boiled throughout his body. At this moment, Yun Shi, who shares the same consciousness with Astaroth, once again sees the impossible circuit. Countless, or even more, cannot be described with words, the endless intertwining, fusion, and weaving of runes creating scenes of language. Armor break stacked 1,000,000 times. Bloodlust stacked 500,000 times. Thousand strikes in an instant stacked 100,000 times. Blade of chaos stacked 50,000 times. Dimensional cut stacked 30,000 times. It is definitely not something that humans can achieve. It's as if all numbers and rules have gone mad, and within the golden sea of chaos, numerous combinations of runes emerge. This is a secret hidden in Astaroth's blood, only the realm of infinite desires can create such a logic. Regardless of whether this reasoning goes against the usual logic of the world, regardless of whether the infinite accumulation of power follows mathematical rules, anyway, it can be done, it is possible. Countless combinations of runes come together to ultimately transform into a blade that even gods can be killed with, and that is the tactic Astaroth excels at. As long as she is given enough time and information, even a god can be easily killed. The stronger the enemies she encounters, the stronger the memories she engraves upon herself, and all of this ultimately becomes nourishment for the golden sea of chaos, making her even more powerful. Chapter 1004. Leaked information in the face of the sword light that seems to sweep and tear apart even the stars. Star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabelno, it is dragon god Asha raised the star hunter in hand and launched a command, Scythe. In that moment, it was as if the entire sky had collapsed, and the weight of billions of the chain of star dragon instantly piled up on the Lord God weapon created to hunt Starchild. Silver runes illuminated on the barrel, with just one stab, completely dispersing Astaroth's sword light that could shatter the stars. Magic, incredibly simple yet unsolvable magic. Supreme Dragon God Asha, who broke the rules of the Star Bridge, had such unreasonable power. No matter how many runes Astaroth stacked in this slash, or how many times they enhanced the special effects, Asha only needed one strike to completely counterattack. If Astaroth's sword light is an endless swirling ocean, then Asha's strike is like a star-falling impact, capable of evaporating the entire ocean. In terms of absolute strength, there was a huge contrast between the two sides. Supreme Dragon God Asha, who personally intervened in this war, not only turned the tables on star-hunting dragon, but also completely suppressed Astaroth in their Demon King state. This is the power of the Creator God's spirit, elevated to a level that Astaroth cannot defeat in terms of both quality and quantity. Yes, this is the kind of power, the so-called supreme power. Behind Astaroth, who was struck back to the ground for the first time, their dark wings soared, and countless ripples appeared in their golden eyes filled with chaos. Each ripple represents the changes in the chaotic golden ocean, reflecting the scenery within Astaroth's heart. Facing the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narable, who demonstrated power at the level of creation, the flame in Astaroth's heart not only didn't extinguish but burned even more intensely. The more difficult the enemy is to defeat, the more we want to win. The scarier the opponent is, the more we can surpass our limits. The ultimate desire is endless freedom. A world without opponents is so boring. It is because of the existence of monsters like Astaroth, who has had the power of the Demon King since birth, that this world has the level of creation. Astaroth is filled with joy and excitement. At the same time, Yunshi, who shares consciousness with Astaroth, received some very bad news. Master. Something really bad is happening. Maya, Yunshi's star spirit, who never interferes in trials unless in extreme circumstances, broke the rule and warned Yunshi for the first time. Is it the end of the world? Yunshi felt like there couldn't be any worse situation than now. Almost assimilated by the White Lotus secret treasure's most powerful future projection, the golden demon King Astaroth's body even disappeared in the crystal ball space. Across the way, stood one of their most terrifying ex-girlfriends, Mumu's mother, Asha, one of the powerful gods called Supreme Dragon God of the Creator God Spirits. Surrounding them, the powerful chain of star dragons sealed them off, making escape nothing but a foolish dream. After this battle, it felt like it was time to return home and get married. No, it's worse than the end of the world. Master, it seems like they've also noticed something and started to stare at us. Maya's voice trembled, even more than when Yunshi and Astaroth merged together. She had never been this panicked. The soul of Starchild cannot be destroyed, even if they become the Demon King. They. As soon as Yunshi heard this word, he had a terrible sense of foreboding. It's those few. Master, you haven't forgotten how you died in your previous life, have you? Ah, I remember. Or rather, it was Yunshi's earliest memory of Starchild. The desperate wolf ran everywhere but couldn't escape, and its soul turned into countless shining memories. It was too painful to look back. They all came. Maya trembled in fear. This was not just a problem with the apostles, but the main characters were coming to block the door. Now we might really be in trouble. Yunshi also felt that something big was not right. It was like being at the end of the road with no way to escape. Even with Astaroth's power, he looked like he had little chance against Dragon God Asha. If a few more came, it would be a complete collapse. Perhaps, even the seemingly all-knowing and all-powerful White Lotus secret treasure couldn't figure out a way to counter the 4 ex-girlfriends. Yunshi himself didn't know how he could defeat 4 creator-level ex-girlfriends. Speaking of which, what did he do in his past life to have the courage to take on this kind of challenge? Look, they're sinking. Master, the only plan now is to run away. Maya gritted her teeth. Even if it meant exposing certain things, they had no choice. As the guardian of Starchild, carrying the great mission of the stars, the star spirit had 1 or 2 hidden cards that should only be used as a last resort. Can we still escape now? Yunshi looked at the chain of star dragon descending from the sky. Even if just one of them caught him, it would trap him completely. It was clear that Dragon God Asha had already anticipated this. I will never give you a chance to run. I will lock you up. The billions of the chain of Star Dragon seemed to have the words engraved on their chains. There is, but we have to wait for the opportunity, Maya calculated cautiously. The opportunity might only come once. If they couldn't escape this time, no matter which one of his ex-girlfriends they fall into the hands of, the outcome would be disastrous. Dark Mark. Astaroth didn't care about what Yunshi and Maya were thinking. For her, the reason for this battle didn't matter, nor did the goal. The battle itself was what she desired. Even if the opponent was a divine being of creation, it was no exception. More golden crystals rose from the ground. If Asha, who controlled the billions of the chain of Star Dragon, represented the sky, then Astaroth, at this moment, was the earth. The sky was high above, sacred and inviolable. The earth is deep and heavy, with endless flames and magma flowing inside it. When it erupts, even the sky changes color. A deep black sword mark runs across the heavens and the earth, tearing apart the boundaries between them. It even completely destroys parts of the chain of Star Dragon and creates a small opening in the perfect seal set up by Dragon God Asha. The 13 rings of the chain of Star Dragon's restrictions were not torn apart, but this small change triggered terrifying consequences. This slight flaw finally caught the attention of some people who had been observing this place, and they noticed that something was happening inside. Just like Dragon God Asha captured the threads of fate, some other people have also come into contact with them. Suddenly, the star bridge starts changing colors. Chapter 1005, The Tower Masters of the Seven Towers. The Star Bridge is the link connecting the various domains of the Endless God's domain. The Seven Towers are the nodes that carry all the star bridges. Each tower is unique but can project numerous avatars, responsible for connecting countless star bridges. After the Battle of Twilight of the Gods, this system has been running safely for millions of years without any problems. Until today. The ruler of the Northern God's domain, Supreme Dragon God Asha, was the first to break the rules. She used her highest authority as the owner of the Dragon Tower to forcibly take 1/7 of the liquidity from the Star Bridge, projecting her own power of creation from the distant Northern God's domain onto the White Lotus Sword domain in the Eastern God's domain. The entire White Lotus Sword domain was pulled out by Asha from the territory of the Sky Sword God's domain and forced to move towards the Northern God's domain. This action caused great panic among the various gods' domains on this star path. However, what nobody expected was that this was only just the beginning. Below the Sky Tower, Lilibet pulled out her own Sword of Order, the Blue Divine Sword. 3 strands of hair on her forehead stood up high, and the braids behind her automatically moved without wind, faintly showing the shadow of blue feathers. Understand, this kind of thing is not allowed. Following your will arrive. The compass on the Order Divine Sword reflected the scenery of the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, which was the legendary fantasyland of the entire Eastern God's domain, Kunlun God's domain. A gigantic tree grew from the top of the Sky Tower, opening the boundary between heaven and earth, humans and gods. The ruler of the Eastern God's domain, and the Supreme Dragon God Asha, one of the highest beings in the creation level, took action. On the Star Bridge of the Eastern God's domain, about 1/7 of the area changed colors. Lush vitality flowed along Asha's path and eventually turned into a green light that blocked the White Lotus Sword domain, forcefully pulled out of the Sky Sword God's domain by Asha. Lilibet stepped out into the starry sky, with a constantly spreading halo under her feet. The ruler of the Eastern God's domain, the West Queen Mother, joining the battle. At the same time, in the God's domain of the south, 2 different smells came sweeping in, each activating the power of one of the 7 towers and locking in their chosen positions. Inside the treasure space, far beyond the countless chain of star dragons, Sue opened her arms and blissfully savored the scent from the great origin. Naya, hooray! Countless ink-like substances dripped from the star bridge, splattering onto Sue and the red-haired warrior, instantly transforming the already towering figure of the red-haired warrior into a colossal creature twisted by black matter. With claws tearing, the chain of star dragon began to be ripped apart from the outside. Come, let me see what's hidden inside. Amid Sue's joyful laughter, as a disciple of Naya, she began to invade Asha's constructed cage. Ziyuan knelt down gently in front of a blurry figure that couldn't be seen clearly, on the same side of the secret treasure space. That was the goddess of ineffability, the lady who killed gods, the owner of the city of torment, Ms. Endenize, symbolizing the non-existent gods without names. 2 primordial beings from the god's domain in the south came at the same time. From Asha breaking the rules forcefully, to the 3 primordial beings intercepting at the same time, it was only a moment's time. And in just this short moment, the White Lotus Sword domain had already been dragged out of the Sky Sword God's domain, and was even about to fly out of the Eastern God's domain, forcibly moved by Asha to the central area of the Endless God's domain. In front of the White Lotus secret treasure, the twin witches guarding the golden scales started to shake. Just a few more. White Lotus looked at the unbalanced weights on both sides of the scales and shrugged. This is really... Red Lotus held onto her head. Everything had gone crazy since the appearance of Asha, the ruler of the Northern God's domain. Who could have imagined that the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure would attract the attention of 4 world-creating beings? What did her younger sister see in the prophecy given by the White Lotus secret treasure? Are you ready, sister? We are going to perform the divine descent technique. White Lotus held her sister's hand and guided them to make a choice. Now, they were like an arrow that had to be released. Understood, we are responsible for that one. Red Lotus never dreamed that as the priestess of the gods, they would be involved with that one. Red, the color of flames, passionate, lively, and hot. Orange, the color of the sun, gorgeous, sweet, and joyful. Yellow, the color of divinity, bright, pleasant, and shining. Green, the color of life, gentle, fresh, and peaceful. Green, the color of the sky, wide, clear, flawless. Blue, the color of the ocean, eternal, calm, gentle. Purple, the enchanting color, noble, charming, proud. Who can possess all these colors? Who is the owner of the seven-colored slate? She will not have a place in Pantheon, for she is the goddess above all. Ionia, in the moment when the true name was spoken, the golden balance fiercely began to shake, the seven-colored radiance intertwined, and then fell upon the twin witches. The descent of the gods has been triggered. At this point, almost all of the tower masters known to people in Endless God's domain had gathered at the Seven Towers. In Eastern God's domain, the tower master of the Celestial Tower is the Queen Mother of the West. In Northern God's domain, the tower master of the Dragon Tower is the supreme dragon god Asha. In the Southern God's domain, the tower master of the Earth Tower is Naya, the Lord of Chaos. In the Southern God's domain, the tower master of the King's Tower is the Nameless Lady. In Western God's domain, the tower master of the Divine Tower is Ionia, the god above gods. Among the Seven Towers, nobody knows who is the master of the Shadow Tower, which was the last one to be completed, and it seems to not exist in the real world. As for the Tower of Stars, which was the first one to be completed, it has never had a master, but rather is responsible for operating and dealing with matters related to the Star Bridge. At this moment, the 5 Tower Masters who had found the coordinates and arrived at the White Lotus Sword domain were the 5 creator-level beings seated on the highest throne of the Endless God's domain. Any of them has the power to destroy countless worlds in God's domain, especially the 2 creators in the Southern God's domain, which is known as the Abyss God's domain and is recognized as the most terrifying embodiment of the Endless God's domain. The City of Suffering where Nameless Lady resides is the headquarters of various dark organizations in the Endless God's domain, providing unconditional shelter for all intelligent beings who commit crimes in the Endless God's domain. The King Tower stands in the center of the City of Suffering. The King of the King Tower is not the human concept of a king, but the one who rules everything solely with absolute power, symbolizing the king of the strongest creatures. The Abyss Tower where Naya resides, which corresponds to the Sky Tower, is a gathering place for countless monsters in the Endless God's domain. It is also the hiding place of many evil gods, a paradise of indescribable things. Chapter 1006, The Halt of the Endless God's domain. On this day, all the rulers of the Eastern God's domain, Western God's domain, the Southern God's domain, and the Northern God's domain were left dumbfounded as their star bridges instantly turned into musical staves. 5 different creator-level powers, through their respective highest authorities, took up 75% of the star bridge, completely halting its operation. The star bridge connecting the major gods' domains in the Endless God's domain is only operating with the remaining 2/5, but it is merely a drop in the bucket. The entire flow of resources and business activities in Endless God's domain has fallen into a semi-stagnant state. No one has witnessed such chaos since the twilight of the Gods' War. This is the star bridge that connects the entire Endless God's domain. For Endless God's domain, which has become accustomed to using star bridges to transport resources and exchange information, even a 1-second delay in the star bridge would result in astronomical losses. Moreover, this time the entire star bridge system almost came to a complete halt. The system, which was supposed to operate normally, had 7 towers tower masters intercepting 1/7 of its capacity to transmit power. As a result, all the resources and information that were originally supposed to flow through these star bridges were forcibly squeezed into the remaining empty areas. Only Asha's 1/7 is manageable since the star bridge was designed with sufficient capacity. Although it may be slower, circulation can still be maintained. The other 4 tower masters of the 7 towers attempted to follow Asha's approach, but their prepared capacity could no longer support it. As a result, the star bridge system, which was still barely functioning, completely snapped. Apart from the part of the star bridge that belongs to the tower master of the 7 towers, the rest of the star bridge is blocked tightly by various goods and information, just like vehicles stuck on a road during holidays, unable to move forward or backward at all. If we consider the star bridge as a road between the Endless God's domains, Then at this moment, except for a few extremely remote gods' domains that can still operate, all the other gods' domains are blocked. The last time this situation occurred was during the twilight of the Gods' War, which swept through more than half of the endless gods' domains. During that era, the star bridge system was not fully completed yet, and the war interrupted many star bridges, causing the connections between various gods' domains to be severed. Since the completion of the 7 towers and the agreement reached by the 5 creator beings, allowing the use of star bridge connections, the civilization system of the entire endless gods' domain has become completely different from the twilight of the gods' era. Now, the losses caused by a 15-minute blockage of the star bridge are probably greater than when the star bridge was interrupted for a year during the twilight of the gods' war. However, no one has any solution to this situation. Because what is happening in front of them is beyond their imagination. Especially for the legendary beings standing at the pinnacle of their respective gods' domains, they can easily recognize the truth behind this musical staff. The ruler of the Dragon Tower in the Northern God's domain is the supreme dragon god Asha. The ruler of the Sky Tower in the Eastern God's domain is the Queen Mother of Kunlun. The ruler of the God Tower in the Western God's domain is the God of Gods, Ionia. The ruler of the Earth Tower in the Southern God's domain is the Lord of Chaos, Naya. The ruler of the King Tower in the Southern God's domain is the Nameless Lady. The 5 known creators in the Endless Gods domain transformed the Star Bridge into a musical staff. The Star Bridge and the 7 towers were built by these creators together. Only such an existence can make all the rulers of God's domain accept the presence of the Star Bridge. Initially, many people feared the Star Bridge because it represented a power outside of God's domain, the power of foreign invasion. It wasn't until people began to get used to the Star Bridge that bold merchants started selling specialties from different gods' domains through the Star Bridge. The entire Endless Gods domain developed rapidly in civilization thanks to the existence of the Star Bridge, and the rulers of God's domain gradually accepted its presence. Because the Star Bridge has existed for a very long time for wise beings, many people have forgotten about it. The 5 creators, who are the Tower Masters of the 7 towers, each have 1/7 of the highest authority over the Star Bridge. The Star Bridge is not a thing that everyone owns, instead, it is a bridge built by the Tower Masters of the 7 towers, reaching towards the stars. Until now, the owners of the 7 towers each used their highest powers. Only then did people remember what the essence of the Star Bridge was. Looking at the Star Bridge that turned into a musical staff, many residents of God's domain were filled with great fear. 5 creative beings used their highest authority together. What does this mean? Is it true that the war is about to begin? Will the eternal peace of Endless God's domain never return again? If these 5 creators really go to war, then the entire civilization of Endless God's domain will regress, and countless parts of God's domain will turn to ashes in the war of creators. This is by no means an exaggeration. Each and every one of the 5 who sit atop the highest throne in the Endless Gods domain possesses this kind of power. Long ago, these 5 beings made a secret contract that nobody knows the details of. Because of this, the Star Bridge system in Endless Gods domain was able to be built. Without it, the concept of Endless Gods domain would not even exist. The 5 creators each have different personalities and positions. Asha, the ruler of Northern God's domain and the mother of the Stellar Dragon clan, follows the principles of order and kindness. She has a good relationship with Ionia, the supreme god of Western God's domain. Many dragons are active in both of these gods' domains. In the Southern God's domain, the 2 creators lean towards chaos and evil. Nameless Lady prefers intelligent beings who deviate from order and is accepting of all criminals. Naya favors all kinds of monsters, creatures, and unnameable beings. She opposes dragon god Asha and the supreme god Ionia. The Lord of Kunlun, the ruler of Eastern God's domain, follows a principle of absolute neutrality and has a mysterious and friendly relationship with the other 4 creators. In this way, the 5 creators have formed a unique state of balance. Most of the time, these 5 beings don't interfere with matters in Endless God's domain and don't even appear before people. The most powerful god, Ionia, has been missing in the pantheon for thousands of years. The all-powerful dragon god, Asha, started entering a routine sleep hundreds of years ago. The god Naya and the Nameless Lady of the Dark Abyss, Even their subordinates don't know what they are doing or if they are still in the Endless God's domain. Only the Queen Mother of Kunlun God's domain has remained active, either pregnant or trying to conceive, not even caring about the affairs of the Sky Tower. The power of creator-level beings to interfere with the real world has been absent for thousands of years, and they no longer directly involve themselves in the creation of the real world. It seems like they have agreed that the mortal world belongs to mortals, the hero world belongs to heroes, and the legendary world belongs to legends. Chapter 1007. The most terrifying Asura arena. With their power to create, they don't need to interfere with the Endless God's domain. They just need to observe this vast world connected by the star bridge from their highest throne. With the existence of the star bridge, even if they don't think, the rulers of each god's domain will strive to expand their territory and illuminate more star charts. Ever since the star bridge system was completed, the territory of the entire Endless God's domain has expanded hundreds or even thousands of times compared to the era of the twilight of the God's War, and this trend is still accelerating. Initially, the star bridge was connected for a specific purpose, but it has now become the pillar that supports the civilization of Endless God's domain. Without the star bridge, the civilization of Endless God's domain would probably regress to the time before the twilight of the gods, with scarce resources and excessive dependence on external supplies. There may even be a danger of civilization extinction. The expansion of Endless God's domain is absolutely advantageous for the supreme dragon god Asha of the Order Camp, the god of gods Ionia, and the nameless lady of the Chaos Camp. Perhaps only the Queen Mother of the West, who is neutral and indifferent to the outside world, lacks interest in the spread of the Star Bridge. The Eastern God's domain is also the only God's domain that never invades others. In contrast, the Lords of the Eastern God's domain like to constantly evolve their own God's domain. A medium-sized God's domain like the Sky Sword God's domain is a perfect example with its 17 legendary Sky Swords. However, all these rules are based on a certain understanding. Now, that understanding has been broken, and it was the supreme dragon god Asha, the lord of the northern god's domain, who broke it himself. Just as a stone causes ripples, Asha's actions triggered an interception by the lord of Kunlun, the Queen Mother of the West. Although she seems uninterested in expanding God's domain's territory, the Queen Mother of the West is very protective of her own type of God's domain, like a mother protecting her child. Asha wanted to take away the White Lotus Sword domain, but that was not acceptable. The interference of the Queen Mother of the West attracted the attention of several leaders of the Seven Towers, who then discovered something. Even though nobody could confirm the truth of this matter, even Dragon God Asha herself only had a vague feeling about it. But that was enough. Everything about that person was worth going to any lengths for. Asha felt this way. Ionia felt this way. Naya and the Nameless Lady felt the same way too. Well, the Queen Mother of the West said, "This has nothing to do with me. I just want to protect my White Lotus Sword domain, which is the only flower in the Eastern God's domain." In the middle of the White Lotus Sword domain, there is a hidden treasure space. The chain of Star Dragon, with as many as 13 rings, emitted a cracking sound under the unbearable weight. First, a pitch-black giant claw ripped apart countless chains and forcefully entered this shrinking confinement space. Su is here. Standing on the shoulder of a gigantic black monster, Su appeared with bare feet and a smile on his face. Are there any naughty children who want to eat Su's candy? Following that, a sky-blue sword light also severed a large number of chains as the chain of Star Dragon descended. Yunshi was overjoyed to see Lilibet, his first love and the guardian of the Sky Tower in the most ancient Sky Sword God's domain, wielding the Azure Excalibur. Her words might be able to accomplish something. Next, it was Zi Yuan, who Yunshi had only encountered briefly. She had a strange presence, her flowing robe transformed into a divine garment made of countless sharp blades. She appeared majestic and otherworldly, with black spider-like patterns on her forehead. No, it's with just one glance, Yunshi felt his hairs stand on end. This wasn't the Zi Yuan he knew, but something more terrifying, more ruthless. Finally, appearing in a dazzling array of colors were the twin witches, known as the White Lotus Guardian of this sacred space, Red Lotus. However, at this moment, both of them had their eyes closed, holding hands, their breath almost still. In White Lotus' hand, a stone tablet appeared at some point. The tablet was inscribed with many names, each carrying the power of a deity. It was a treasure that only the supreme gods of Western God's domain could use, surpassing the concept of god weapons. 5. This is truly a delightful. Astaroth's breathing became incredibly rapid, not from nervousness, but from excitement, almost ecstatic. The 5 primordial beings chose 5 different coordinates as their vessels and descended upon the White Lotus sword domain at the same time. Just a small part of their will has already caused enormous changes in the entire White Lotus sword domain. The entire White Lotus sword domain is transforming, except for the Water God Kingdom. 5 different powers of creation are modifying the world's laws in their own ways, occupying different regions of the White Lotus sword domain. The most essential area of the sword, the blade, is claimed by the absolute home team, the Western Queen Mother. The White Lotus Sword Palace and the Sky Tower become her territory. The section of the sword's body is divided between Naya and the Nameless Lady, from the dark abyss of God's domain. The region of the sword's hilt becomes the domain of Asha and Ionia in God's domain. The Western Queen Mother's territory possesses the highest level of intelligent beings. Naya and the Nameless Lady's territory has the largest area. Asha and Ionia's territory has the highest population. Before the war began, the entire White Lotus sword domain was already divided up, except for Hydera, the Water God's kingdom. There were no more private territories in the White Lotus sword domain. Without a doubt, the 5 creators of the world all had their eyes on the White Lotus sword domain and expressed their intentions. This is my land. From this moment on, the White Lotus sword domain was no longer a small god's domain in the remote corner of Sky Sword God's domain. It became a treasure that the 5 creators of the world would fight over. The White Lotus sword domain, which was about to be taken to the Northern God's domain by Asha, was now on the verge of collapse as it balanced amidst the power of the 5 creators, stopping in a certain star region in the center of Endless God's domain. Master, we need to prepare to run away. Maya reminded Yunxi, who still had fantasies about the situation. If he didn't escape now, there would be no chance. The 5 creators of the world gathered together, and 4 of them were his ex-girlfriends. Yunxi finally experienced what it meant to have a super Asura field that could shake the Endless God's domain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Astaroth held Abyssal Condemnation with both hands, targeting all 5 enemies. This dark mark would be more magnificent than ever before. Be free, the power of endless desires. It's right now. Among the dark sword marks that span the heavens and earth, a flicker of starlight disappeared. Don't run. Don't even think about it. Stop. It's you, right? Chapter 1008. Even though it was surrounded by the dazzling brilliance of the chain of Star Dragon, that strand of starlight was so insignificant, and it was even hidden within the dark mark wielded by Astaroth. But when the 4 creators appeared at the moment the starlight appeared, they all made a move. The manifestation of the supreme dragon god Asha, Mumu Narable, directly shot out his star hunter from his hand and let out a roar that shook the heavens and the earth. The lover's spear of hunt. The manifestation of the god supreme Ionia, the twin witches, held hands together and wrote the language of the gods on the stone tablet that recorded the names of the gods. Seal, strike down. The manifestation of the Chaos Lord Naya, Su, transformed the giant sword in the hand of the black giant at his feet into the shape of a bow and shot out thousands of black arrows that pierced the sky in one breath. Track. The manifestation of the Nameless Lady, Zi Yuan, the 100-ghost sword, which was originally one of the divisions of the ghost sword, evolved into a slender blade over 3 meters long, the true form of the sky sword. As the blades danced, countless demons and monsters surged out from the open cracks, as if hell and the underworld had descended. This sentence is from a storybook, please translate it into English. 1. Well, only a certain Empress Shi Wangmu stood by and watched, feeling very pleased with herself. Master, you must endure. Maya's heart was pounding as she was being hunted down by 4 powerful creator-level beings. Any one of them could easily squeeze the life out of this tiny little star sprite countless times. Luckily, the 4 of them stood united, even Supreme Dragon God Asha and the Almighty God Ionia, who were the closest allies among the four, would never let go at this moment. They were four creators who joined forces, but their relationship was not simply adding one and one together. Instead, they contradicted each other and competed with each other in a chaotic way. Asha's shooting love gun was hit by Naya's pitch-black arrow hundreds of times. The creatures of Nameless Lady, more than half of them were sealed by the stone tablet of the Supreme God. The intermingling of four powers of creation ultimately gave Starchild, who was fleeing, a brief moment of respite. This is the hope that Maya talked about. If someone is caught by one of these four ex-girlfriends, it's like being trapped in the chain of Star Dragon by Dragon God Asha. There is absolutely no way to escape. But when all four ex-girlfriends arrived, a glimmer of hope emerged instead. The hope of breaking the deadlock was the conflict among the four of them, along with other variables. More golden crystals spread out, and the strongest demon king from the Golden Sea of Chaos was not the least bit afraid, even when faced with 5 creator-level beings. The stronger the enemy, the stronger the desire for victory from within the heart. Like a string pulled to its limit, the pressure increases, causing Astaroth, the realm of infinite desires, to boil even more. Reflected in this body is the blood of the demon king from the Golden Sea of Chaos, cheering. Collecting the power attributes of 5 endless gods domain creator-level beings at once has an immediate impact on the growth of the realm of infinite desires. A frog at the bottom of a well can only see a small piece of sky at the well's opening during its lifetime. Mortals cannot escape the world in which they reside until death. The Golden Sea of Chaos, located at the deepest level of the abyss, can contain all powers. No matter if it's a dragon, an angel, a deity, darkness, or even those unnameable things, the realm of infinite desires welcomes them all. Astaroth's Demon King attribute is the ultimate demon king among demon kings. Her potential for growth is limitless. When the 4 creators joined forces, their powers clashed and cancelled out. But in that moment, Astaroth unleashed the strongest and craziest dark mark ever. This sword almost made the golden blood within her body completely evaporate. It was a sign that Astaroth's Demon King power had reached its limit. Countless runes rearranged and danced, weaving scars on par with dividing heaven and earth. The jet-black scars were like the abyss itself. They first devoured Naya's dark arrows, then swallowed Nameless Lady's sinister creatures, instantly expanding more than tenfold. Finally, they broke through the rainbow light of the Ionia stone tablet and crashed onto the hunting lover's spear that posed the greatest threat to Yunshi. As the focal point, Astaroth unleashed a power at least 10 times greater than her own, perfectly illustrating the concept of leveraging strength and infinite imagination and creation. If the scoring system of the White Lotus secret treasure trial were still in place, this dark mark would undoubtedly receive a perfect score of 100. After all, it was a sword technique guided by the power of creation itself. Originally representing the Demon King's most fundamental sword skill, the dark mark was unexpectedly used by Astaroth with astonishing effects. This single move shattered the balance of the 4 primordial beings and also opened an escape route for Yunshi. However, just this is not enough. For the 4 creator beings who had activated a 7th of their respective star bridges' highest authority, the word defeat simply didn't exist in their dictionary. This sword from Astaroth only postponed the moment when a starchild would be captured. No matter if this strand of starlight is him or not, there is no mistake in killing and letting go. If I miss this opportunity, I don't know how long it will take to find another clue. Starchild, who has the blessings of the stars, is a target that cannot be captured by any fortune-telling or prophecy. All the prophecies about Starchild might be true, but it's more likely that they are completely wrong. About this matter, the 4 primordial beings have already attempted countless times. When it comes to the existence of the field they were in, it was expected to be all-knowing and all-powerful, but once it encountered the Starchild, this law would completely fail. The situation of Supreme Dragon God Asha. She used the highest dragon soul contract, trying to bind Starchild to her side. The contract stipulated that no matter the era, his soul would always be with you. This is not a lie. The current Mumu is a part of Starchild's soul, so in a way, Asha truly has Starchild's soul as her companion every day. The condition of the Supreme Goddess Ionia. The highest wish spell, as long as you open your eyes, You can see the same stars as me every day. Similarly, it is not a lie. In Pantheon, the star bridge connects the star maps that perpetually accompany Ionia. No matter the era, she and he can see the same stars. The occasion of the Lord of Chaos, Naya. Without a contract or a wish, what Naya got was this kind of promise. As long as the abyss exists, our agreement will never change. That agreement, it's a secret. On this side of the nameless lady, the king is lonely and powerful. I believe one day you will become the most outstanding person. This tower, it is built for you, it will witness your greatness and glory. So, the nameless lady decided to constantly choose the strongest kings, letting the brilliance of the king tower shine throughout endless God's domain. Chapter 1009 Contract. Wish. Promise. Future. 4 creator-level beings revolve around the previous generation Starchild and make different choices, but they all have the same outcome. None of them truly obtained the Starchild. The Starchild has a special connection with all of them, but it doesn't belong to any one person. A love-hate relationship. Sometimes far, sometimes near. He is within reach, yet his image always slips away. Confused and uneasy, the 4 creator-level beings, possessing the power of creation, malfunctioned for the first time. They couldn't be sure what he was thinking, what he was expecting. They could give him everything, but he never asked anything of them. He wanted the throne, the highest throne in all 4 directions of God's domain would open for him, north, south, east, and west. He wanted power, no kind of power would refuse him, whether it be the gates of heaven or the depths of the abyss, they would open for him. Throughout, they never truly understood what he desired. The 7 towers, which constructed the civilization foundation of endless God's domain, connected the star bridges among the major God's domains. Starchild left contentedly, disappearing into endless God's domain. Or rather, he escaped. The last thing that happened was the scene seen by Yunshi when he turned 16. It looks like the escape attempt failed. Now, he has to face the same difficult situation again. The only thing to be happy about is that, due to the rules of endless God's domain, the 4 former girlfriends didn't appear in their true forms, but instead used the power of the star bridge to choose their own avatars. And, they are not completely certain that the Starchild they are looking for is here. From this perspective, Yunshi's disguise is still perfect. The starlight just now was just a decoy thrown out by Maya. The real Yunshi is still in a fused state with Astaroth. Former girlfriends, all 4 of them. Do they correspond to Mumu, Red Lotus, White Lotus, Su, and Zi Yuan? Are they all chosen apostles? There is one more. She is the guardian of the Sky Tower, corresponding to the neutral Queen Mother of the West. Calmly analyzing the current situation, Yunshi once again enters a state similar to when he was immersed in the battle god Sand of Time with Cassina. Time has slowed down, as if at the bottom of the river of endless time. Countless threads of fate intertwine within the White Lotus Sword domain. The threads belong to the ex-girlfriends of the 4 creator-level beings. The threads belong to him and the future strongest demon king, Astaroth. The threads belong to the Queen Mother of Kunlun God's domain, Her Majesty Shi Wangmu. Oh, there are other threads too? Although they appear weaker compared to these creation beings, they contain a stunning power that is almost equal to the strongest demon king, Astaroth. That is his childhood friend. Hua Hua's thread. Even on this stage, Hua Hua is not a mere spectator, she has the power to intervene here. This is the first time Yunshi directly observes the bloodline power of his unbeatable childhood friend, Hua Hua. That kind of power is currently hidden, but it has an unimaginable ancient feeling, as if it has existed for a very long time. In the perspective of Sand of Time, that power seems to trace back to the ancient times that are almost impossible to observe in the river of time. Thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, no, that is an era far beyond this concept. It was a divine era where the boundary between gods and humans was still unclear, where the highest of the gods and dragon god Asha walked on the earth, and Naya and Nameless Lady were in the distant past when they were still in the stage of outer gods. Hua Hua's bloodline is a legacy from that era, a past that has already disappeared in the current endless gods domain. The wings of soaring are not bound by any laws. Moreover, compared to the 5 primordial beings who have not come here in their true forms, Huahua's power is hidden within her own body. The power loss through the star bridge projected by the 5 primordial beings is approximately 100-1, with an unknown upper limit. The power loss controlled by Astaroth through the Golden Sea of Chaos is approximately 10-1, with the same unknown upper limit. Huahua had a hidden power within her blood, with no known limits or losses. Even though she had not joined the battle, like Astaroth, she was not under the control of the 4 creator levels. She simply had no reason to participate in the fight, so she stayed in a watchful state and had no intention of getting involved. If it's Huahua, Yunshi hesitated. He wanted to escape from this life-threatening situation, but he didn't know if he should involve Huahua as well. This is the previous generation's starchild, the problem that arose in his previous life. He didn't know what mistake he had made that caused all 4 of his ex-girlfriends to chase him. It would be unfair to involve innocent Huahua in this matter. However, if he were to be captured by his already gathered ex-girlfriends this time, Yunshi had a feeling that he might never see Huahua again, no matter who had him. This feeling was so strong, it could even be said to be an inevitable future. His ex-girlfriends from his previous life would chase after him to the ends of the earth, even to the corners of the universe. Huahua, are you watching? Through the gaps of the chain of Star Dragon, Yunshi saw 3 Zaka and an Huahua who seemed restless for some unknown reason. She didn't know what happened here, but she seemed to sense something. Should we say this is the telepathy between childhood sweethearts who like each other? Huahua didn't hear any sounds, but a wild instinct bubbling in her heart told her that something terrible had happened. On her special radar for Yunshi, 5 enormous red dots appeared, representing enemy units. These dots were so massive that they occupied almost the entire detection range of this fantasy radar. The targets represented by the 5 dots were unmistakably clear, visible through the shattered chain of Star Dragon. Twin witches who looked identical and had a great advantage. Despite being a half-human, half-dragon supergiant, Mumu possessed alluring contours and a majestic chest. Her sweet smile at the corner of her mouth made people instantly like the mysterious girl, Su. Ziyuan, the cold beauty as chilly as an iceberg, was surrounded by sinister creatures. And finally, there was Lilibet, wielding the azure Excalibur, a crimson alarm raising to its highest level, causing Huahua's hair to stand on end. Little she, when did you get into so much trouble? Even if you flirt, there should be a limit. Huahua got angry, the mighty Dragon Emperor sword roaring, and the dormant power of her bloodline began to shatter. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.